without care. Yeah, I was out of touch, but it wasn't because I didn't know enough. I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy?
It was on this day 20 years ago, April the 2nd, 2006, that Gnarls Barkley started a 9-week run at number 1 on the UK singles chart. With that song right there, crazy, of course. But here's the interesting thing about that song going number 1 20 years ago today. It made that song chart history because it was the first act ever to reach number 1 through computer downloads only. The single was not available to buy in shops until the following week, but Gnarls Barkley was a number 1 first ever to reach that through computer downloads only. This day in 2006. A very good Thursday morning to you. This April the 2nd, 2026. And oh, how I wish we were televised on Rogers TV Cable 20 today. Let me just draw the curtain back for you a little bit here about what it's like working from the remote studios in Saginaw. I have to work from the hotel room. No other place to set up a studio. And I share a hotel room with my broadcast partner on Kitchener Rangers games, Josh Piercy, right? So here's how it works. I set my alarm early in the morning, and then I get up like a thief in the night and tiptoe out of the room so as not to disturb his restful slumber. And I come back. So I'm downstairs in the lobby, getting all my prep done, getting ready to come on the air with you. And then I come back upstairs at 8:30-ish. It's about 8:40 today to get things set up in the hotel room studio. And Sleeping Beauty is still sawing logs in here. So I've got a half-dressed roommate behind me while I'm trying to do the show. I want to take the blur off my camera and show everybody back at the studios what's going on in here. But I wouldn't do that to Josh. I wouldn't do that to him. But if we were on TV, I would take the blur off this Zoom camera and just let Waterloo Region see the stud, the stone cold stud that I work with every Kitchener Rangers game. Just a little behind the scenes for you here as we start our show. He's half dressed, maybe at best. I'm not turning around. If you could see over my shoulder, that would be your benefit for the day. Unfortunately, it's radio, so you're just going to have to visualize it in your mind, okay? We start the show every day at 9 with open phone lines because this is all about conversation and interaction. We are the most interactive radio show anywhere in this region. 519-570-2545, star 570, 1-800-570-5715. And I have a couple of really important things to tell you about for the long weekend coming up. I'll get to those in just a minute. But Jersey Bill on the air with us early this morning on the phones. Good morning, Billy.
Hey, good morning, Mike. Yeah, sounds like Mr. Percy is the well-rested one of the two of you,
huh? You noticed that, did you?
Yeah. So listen, I held off on talking about Trump yesterday, even though you had that segment on him, but because I just wanted to hear that speech, and the speech was just a rehash. It really strikes me that the briefings that are being given, and now these remarks, which everybody is saying was a nothing burger. It sort of reminds me of Vietnam, where every day you would have the press office in Vietnam come out with all, how much progress they were making in the war, which probably included the sorties over North Vietnam, and in the end it amounted to nothing. And unfortunately, I think these folks are heading the same way. The big difference is that we're not having pilots being shot down and made captive in Iran because they don't have the capability. And I think if they have piloted aircraft, they're at such a height they can't get shot down. If one went down, the only way one would go down is if they had some sort of malfunction in their plane, which doesn't seem to be likely. But that's the whole thing. We're all in this soup. We're just he's just sort of repeating himself over and over. It's a one person operation, and I really do think that in his ideal world it would be three men in a room: himself, Putin, and Xi, who would just divide the world up between them and do whatever they wish, because they had the power. They have the atomic bombs. They have the power, and nobody else better have any power to stand in their way, which I think is unfortunate for all of us, and we're all paying the price, not just at the pump, but even in our day-to-day relations between different countries.
Billy, I appreciate the call. Good to hear from you. I was kind of surprised we didn't hear from you during that segment on the show yesterday, but I find your last point there interesting, how, perhaps President Trump wishes it was just a room of three men dividing up the world amongst themselves. These are very interesting times to be alive. But I can tell you about relations on a very micro scale, Canada, US. I made a new friend here in Saginaw. I've gotten to know him a little bit through this season. He likes to follow the OHL podcast, which is a little pet project I have on the side because I love the OHL so much. Shameless plug. If you like the OHL or you're even somewhat interested in it, check out the OHL podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And so I've gotten to know him a little bit. He's an off-ice official here in Saginaw, and he sent me an email and said, I want to take you out for dinner. So we had dinner together last night. I got to learn a whole lot more about him and his interest in the Ontario Hockey League. And there's a Michiganite, a Saginaw-ish. He lives in a suburb not too far from here, native, American blood. And this good old Canadian kid had a good old chinwag over a meal last night on his dime. So there you go. On the micro level, we're doing just fine with international relations. Let's go next to Doug, who is with us early this morning on the show. Good morning, Douglas.
Good morning, Mike. I got to tell you, my friend, that was a vision I did not want.
Come on now. Come on. You loved every second of it. I got to paint the picture for you, Dougie.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. He's probably tuckered out from keeping up with you. That's the whole thing, Anyway, I can't believe it's amazing what the raising of expectations. The Jays did so well last year. Now they're not winning everything in sight. The Chicken Little, the roof is falling, the sky's falling. I couldn't believe that everyone jumped all over poor Brian Little yesterday. The guy failed, okay, again. But let me see. How many times did the Jays have runners in scoring position, bases loaded, didn't come through? Bottom of the 10th, they had Springer at the plate and a runner on second base, and they failed there too. A lot of blame to go around for everybody, not just the poor guy on the mound. It's unfortunate, but I couldn't believe the stuff that was going on Facebook last night on a couple of Jays groups that I belong to. It's like, give me a break. It's Game 6 of the season, people. Holy smokes. Oh, they're already navel-gazing and crying because the Jays are at 6-0. And it's too bad. I feel bad for Kevin Gausman. Two outings, 10 strikeouts, and nothing to show for him. It's too bad. But anyway, I'm looking forward tonight, so I get to watch as much of it as possible. I've got stuff going on at church, but man, they're gonna sweep. Get the rooms out.
All right, Doug, I appreciate that call. I appreciate that optimism. Since you've got some stuff to do at church, throw a little prayer up for us, okay? And maybe we can finish off this series with the Kitchener Rangers in Saginaw tonight. Interesting that you bring up the Blue Jays. In case you didn't know, every Wednesday morning at 11, the one and only Blue Jay Hunter joins our show to talk Blue Jays baseball right through the entire season. So Ian was on with us yesterday, Blue Jay Hunter, and I expressed my frustration with Brendan Little. This goes back to last season for me. And of course, he gave up the grand slam that put the Jays in a tough position in their second game versus the A's to start the season. They would rally the Jays to come back and win that one. But I hear where you're coming from, Doug. The offense didn't get it done yesterday either. But I truly wonder. I'm sure Brendan Little can pitch somewhere. And if I were Jays management, that's what I would tell him. Brendan Little, you can pitch. You can go pitch anywhere, but you cannot pitch here anymore because it is just not working for Brendan Little and the Toronto Blue Jays. I went through an identical conversation with my good buddy last night over text. And I was saying, you know what? Good thing the Jays swept their first series, because now they're still 4-2. And they've basically taken 2 out of 3 on average when you do the math out of their first 2 series. And if you keep going like that, you're going to have a fine season indeed. But he quite correctly pointed out, as I think Doug's friends on Facebook did, that you can't really be dropping series to the Colorado Rockies. That's not a very strong team. If you're a World Series contender, but again, it is 2 series and 6 games into the season. Let's take one more before we get to your important long weekend information and your Farwell Show 5. We've got Dave with us this morning. Farwell's Force member number 47 is here. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Mike. I'd like to give a huge shout out for our Southwestern Ontario astronaut who is slowly making his way out to outer space boldly where no human has ever gone before. And have a great day, Mike, and let's get her done tonight, and have a great weekend.
Thanks, Dave. It's very nice to hear from you. And how about that, Jeremy Hansen, a Canadian astronaut on board Artemis? Some kids dream of growing up and sitting in a hotel room in Saginaw and talking into a microphone. Other kids grow up to boldly go where no person has gone before. And kudos to you, Mr. Hansen, because I have amounted to very little in this life, but love the picture that Dave paints. Okay, allow me, please, to let you know a couple of things that I think would be great ideas for your upcoming long weekend. And they are connected to something that is very near and dear to my heart. So if you'll forgive the self-serving nature of this. But as you know, I have for more than a decade now hosted this annual thing called Farwell for Hire, where I raise money for cystic fibrosis research. And boy, oh boy, the calendar just turned April. We're always doing the campaign in the springtime. So you know that the campaign is getting closer, right? So some Farwell for Hire news to share with you this morning, and how you can help us get a head start, little kickstart on the old fundraising for cystic fibrosis research. And it's a fun way. This is a reciprocal arrangement, okay? You get something and we get something. Let's start with our KW Titans. They open their playoffs tonight. So we're here in Saginaw, where the Rangers are going to take on the Spirit in hopes of closing out the first round of the playoffs. The Titans are getting started tonight against the Windsor Express. They'll be at home in Kitchener. And game 2 in that series is going to be Saturday. And I would invite you to join us, the Farwell for Hire us, at the KW Titans game on Saturday. The Titans have long been partners of ours with our Farwell for Hire fundraising, and they are making Saturday Farwell for Hire Day with the KW Titans. So if you'd like to come out and watch some great basketball and have a good time, and come and visit us at the Farwell for Hire table that we'll have set up courtside, I would love to see you. We'll have a little chat. I think we're going to have some goodies to give away. And this is just for you, okay? So don't tell anybody, but it's for you. You can get 20% off your gold seat ticket at the Titans game this Saturday if you use the code Titan PERK. Titan, Titan, PERK, PERK. Use that code Titan PERK when you buy your ticket, and you'll get 20% off. You'll enjoy some great basketball, and it's Farwell for Hire Day with the KW Titans on Saturday. It's a 4:00 tip-off at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium with the playoff game versus the Windsor Express. Farwell for Hire Day with the KW Titans. Use Titan PERK to get 20% off your ticket for a gold seat at that game on Saturday. What a great way to spend some time on the long weekend. It's a family-friendly event. You'll have a great time. So that's on Saturday. Tomorrow is Good Friday. And so often on Good Friday, right, we look for our place to get some fish. Could I humbly recommend to you that you enjoy some fish from Morty's in Waterloo? Because once again, they have partnered with the owner of the original Sonny's Drive-In restaurant. We remember lining up outside the door at Sonny's for fish all those years ago. Well, that same recipe and that same fish is going to be served up takeout only, order online from Morty's. They've got it down to a science. You put in your order online, you show up at your allotted time, you pick up your delicious food, off you go. And they, as they have done for many years now, also donate a portion of proceeds to Farwell for Hire. So this is, again, really easy for me, but even easier for you. You get the great fish with the old original Sonny's recipe from a couple of collaborating restaurants. Morty's will be dishing it out of their kitchen, and we're going to raise some money for cystic fibrosis research. So go to mortys.com, put in your order for your Good Friday fish, and we are off to the races. We're getting started. I've got some more news to share with you about the campaign in the days and weeks ahead, but what a chance for us this weekend to get things rolling. Some Good Friday fish with Morty's. Just go to mortys.com. And on Saturday, it's Farwell for Hire Day with the KW Titans. Get your tickets at kwtitans.com. And if you use the code TITANPERK, you're going to get 20% off your tickets to sit in the Golds and watch the Titans take on the Windsor Express. Great long weekend activities for us to raise a little bit of money for cystic fibrosis. Okay, let's get moving to that Farwell Show 5 for this Thursday morning.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
I will start at number 1, of course, and last month was the wettest March since 2011 and the 6th wettest since record keeping began all the way back in 1914. That, according to the monthly report from the E.D. Soulis Memorial Weather Station at the University of Waterloo. In total, there was 128.2 millimeters of precipitation during the month of March, which is almost double the average of 65.8 millimeters. However, March saw just 13.5 centimeters of snow, which is about half the average of 26.5 centimeters. Overall, since our first snowfall back on November the 9th, we have had 239.5 centimeters of snow, which is well above the average of a typical season here in Waterloo region of 159.7 centimeters. The 239.5 centimeters of snow this year is the third highest the region has ever seen. But of course, it is still possible to see snow in April. March was also about 1.5 degrees above average temperatures, making it the first warmer than average month since last October. Number 2 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, city councillors in Guelph will get a 12% raise in the next term following the October election. Council agreed to the raise in a 7-6 vote this week. The 12% increase will bring the salary of a Guelph councillor to just over $59,000. A staff report had recommended a 33% pay increase for councillors, but they've settled on 12. Number 3 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, the province is investing $13.7 million into transit in Waterloo region. The funding through the gas tax fund can be used for local public transit initiatives such as expanding service hours, increasing routes, purchasing new vehicles, and improving accessibility to increase transit ridership. Interestingly, I read a story in this morning's Waterloo Region Record, and transit advocates are trying to encourage the region to speed up the Ion light rail system so that you can get from the top of the system to the bottom, if you will, that 19-kilometer stretch from Conestoga Mall to Fairview Mall in less time. They think if we can make the trip faster, we can encourage more ridership. Number 4 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, the city of Kitchener is giving away 300 free trees. Until April the 27th, interested residents can apply for a free 2-gallon potted tree to plant on their property. Each household is eligible for one free tree while supplies last. Say free tree 5 times fast. Free tree, free tree, free tree, free tree, free tree. The free tree giveaway is a celebration of Kitchener's status as a tree city of the world, a recognition the city has received for a second consecutive year. The city says the tree giveaway will help share the benefits of trees with the entire community. And number 5 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, game day, baby. Playoff game day. I'm broadcasting from the hotel studio here in Saginaw. And quite frankly, and very selfishly, I don't want to come back here again. So maybe our Kitchener Rangers can help me out tonight. It's game 4 versus the Saginaw Spirit, and the Rangers have a 3-0 series lead. That means the series could end tonight, but the 4th game is always the toughest game to win. Join us for all the action tonight at the Dow Event Center, starting with the Harris Law pregame show at 6:30. Josh Piercy will be fully dressed and joining me on the show this morning at 11:30 to preview tonight's game. And that is your Farwell Show 5 for this Thursday morning.
As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.
As God is my witness, I hope the Rangers win tonight. Your morning wake-up call coming up right after this quick timeout. Either you can make it or I will. This is the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio. Just ahead of your update in the 570 News Center, let's get right back to the phones. John is with us for our morning wake-up call. Farwell's Force member number 325. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm top shelf, my friend. Thank you. How are you?
Same way, buddy.
Good man.
Just a comment. I caught some of the game on my way home the other night, and Josh Piercy calling the game did a great job.
He certainly did. He was even fully dressed for the game. It was awesome.
Nope.
Appreciate. Thanks, John. Appreciate the call this morning. Yeah, Josh stepped in. Listen, this guy, not only was he fully dressed for the game on Tuesday night, but he's been wearing a tie for the playoffs. First time all season. Josh has busted out the necktie. It's nice to see. He thought he'd up his game for the playoffs, and I was struggling with a bit of a lost voice on Tuesday. So Josh very capably stepped in, called the play-by-play. I did a little less talking as the color commentator, and we called that overtime win for the Kitchener Rangers. Luca Romano, the OT hero on Tuesday. Will we find another Kitchener Rangers hero tonight? You'll find out when we start Harris Law pregame show coverage at 6:30. Game 4, Rangers and Spirit. Right now, to the 570 News Center we go, and then let's talk about what makes a great downtown. This is the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio. Well, the City of Waterloo's Sustainability Advisory Committee brought a report to Waterloo Council last Monday, the title of which, A Vision of Uptown Waterloo as a Showcase in Sustainability. Now, it's a report that's 30-plus pages long, but looking at the highlights, there were 4 key areas identified, including pedestrianization, parking, nature-positive planning, and buildings. Under buildings, inspirational high-performance building standards, for example. Under parking, repurposing underutilized parking infrastructure in Waterloo. Under pedestrianization, it would be the pedestrianization of Willis Way from Caroline Street South to Regina Street South. I could go on at length, but there's so much in there. We'll talk about it in broad strokes with Waterloo Councillor Julie Wright, who represents Ward 7 in the Uptown and makes time for our show this morning. Good morning, Julie.
Hi, Mike.
As broad themes go, and I touched on some of them there, what do you make of the report that you saw from the Sustainability Advisory Committee?
It's a very enthusiastic report, and I think one of the great benefits of it is that it comes from residents of the city, and it shows where some of their priorities lie, and that's really great feedback for us.
When it comes to things like pedestrianization, we hear about this an awful lot these days. We've seen some communities across North America close cores down completely to vehicle traffic, for example, and make them pedestrian only. Do you think there's room for initiatives like that? Rather bold initiatives, I think I would say, around here, but in Waterloo, for example?
I think for sure in the long term, this is where we're headed. City of Waterloo has already been exploring Woonerfs, which are those streets that are really designed to be both pedestrian and accessible to vehicles intentionally. And so there is a movement towards this in terms of community design. And it's definitely something that we can introduce to Uptown over time. It's just that we've got to get a few ducks in a row first. There are a lot of other cities, Montreal, Calgary, even Canmore, Alberta has pedestrianized a section of their main street, and they've all done this quite successfully. It just really requires some careful planning. You need to make sure that emergency vehicles have the access that they need to, that your infrastructure is accessible, and really that you're still accommodating the movement of people in all the different forms. There's accessibility considerations in there too.
So I'm thinking about downtown Kitchener, and there's a stretch of Gaukel Street that has been pedestrianized from King down to Charles. Does Willis Way offer a similar opportunity for Waterloo, Julie?
I think that's the intent. Right now, we are working through some pretty hard constraints with the parking requirements around the plaza in Uptown. And, we lost some parking spots to the Ion, and we're currently, working on a development on the north side of the plaza. And so as that parking gets reconfigured, we need to make sure that we bring the same amount of parking back online in some way. And so in the future, I think we all imagine that will likely be structured parking, actually incorporated into buildings around the plaza, and not just surface parking lots. Willis Way is part of that parking requirement. And so we've got to figure out how to reconfigure that.
And when you talk about a parking requirement, just so folks are clear, there is essentially a mandated number of parking spaces that must accompany businesses in a core, for example, right?
That's correct. And around the plaza in Uptown, we have a parking obligation that runs for 50 years. And so it's that creates stability for the plaza and for the planning for the businesses there. But there are other ways that we can do parking. And so that becomes the question is, that's one of those larger kind of, it takes planning, takes an understanding of what developments are coming on board. And so we kind of have to move the chess pieces around in order to make that work right.
To that end, Julie, you described this report as enthusiastic initially, and I might use the word ambitious in there as well, very similar language. And the reality is, and I guess this is where you as a counselor maybe have to work to temper expectations, because as lovely as it might be to take all 30 plus pages of this report and implement everything, I think incrementalization is the approach from the municipality. You just can't do everything at once.
That's absolutely right. There's short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals, and they're all reflected in this report. It's just a matter of, where's the urgency. And I would say that the urgency is probably more towards naturalizing some areas in the Uptown and ensuring that we're creating a more sustainable, less heat island effect in the Uptown. That makes being Uptown comfortable. And we're definitely going to need that in the years to come. It's just getting hotter every summer, and so we need to take that into consideration.
What makes a great downtown or uptown to you?
A great uptown is one where people are constantly moving through it for various different reasons. Like they're there for entertainment, they're there for food, they're there for their day-to-day shopping, their day-to-day errands, and that it's easy to access, that it's highly accessible to people with different kinds of needs, that it's an uptown for everyone. And I have to say, our uptown has really thrived in the last 5-6 years, since the Ion went in, since the King Street reconstruction finished up. We really blossomed. We have a very low vacancy rate in Uptown. The BIA does fantastic work to activate the Uptown, and we just need to build on that. And we're so fortunate because there are so many communities across Ontario that are not thriving the way we are. So we definitely have to take that and figure out how to build on it.
And of course, building on that and following a blueprint as enthusiastic or ambitious as this report from the Sustainability Advisory Committee costs money. There's no costing attached to this at this point, but I guess this is something, Julie, as an Uptown councillor, you have to advocate for by way of priority with all of the other competing financial priorities that the city has.
Oh yeah, that's totally, you've just nailed it right on the head. We have big challenges financing big projects at the city, and part of that is where does the money come from? It comes from property taxes, largely, and there are times when we can invest in community infrastructure through development charges. Part of the money comes from growth assessment, and there's these buckets. And then, we're squirreling money away into reserve funds for when we can put the big envelope together and then get a big capital project underway. And that's certainly where we're at with the Laurel Greenway Master Plan. We've hived off little parts of it. So we did an improvement around the Brighton Park trailhead, which is, sort of in behind where the Bridgeport Plaza is. And then, we did some improvements where the clock tower used to be by the old train station, right off of sort of Father David Bauer and Herb Street there. Just a tidy up of that space to prepare it for what might come next through the Laurel Greenway Master Plan. And then a big chunk of that is, following the underground stream through the Uptown and finding ways to landscape that differently. But, a lot of this is dependent on how the developments come on board in and around that Ion station. And the province has really mandated that we need to grow up around our LRT stations. So, it's a number of big pieces that have to come together. We have to be thoughtful about it, and we have to activate the little things so that we're doing the phasing of these projects in a smart and strategic way.
See, now as I envision this as you're talking about it, and so well described, but I start to get a little bit excited here, Julie, because I'm thinking, right? But if we think of the opportunity, if we're talking, like, let's use the Uptown Public Square as a reference point, right, where that LRT station is. And we know that where the atrium used to be, there's a proposal for development there. But you're a stone's throw from Caroline and Urban, that entry point. You talked about the old train station, Father David Bauer, but essentially the entry point to Waterloo Park. And then a little further back the other way towards Regina, where City Hall is, and the Cenotaph area that's there. I know that was identified in the report as an area that could use some greening and whatnot. But right along the Iron Horse Trail, that's the spur line, isn't it?
Spur line,
sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. But this, you from that Cenotaph area around City Hall, right through the public square into Waterloo Park. This is where I'm getting around to my excitement. Like, what an opportunity for that path and the amenities, landscaping, greenery that could be a part of that.
Oh, that is such a golden opportunity right there. It is the crossroads of the neighborhoods in Uptown Waterloo. And so you've got the City Hall parking lot, which is underutilized. We can definitely do better there. You've got the Cenotaph, so there's this historical reference right there. And we've got the intersection of the Laurel Creek Trail and the and the Spurline Trail, which connects to the Iron Horse Trail. And so it's really a major intersection. That's where you bump into neighbors. There's a plaza right there with food shops, and the running room is there, and it's just a great little opportunity to do some great landscaping and figure out how to make it more of a meeting place for people who are coming through Uptown.
Yeah, lots of room for connectivity there. I can see. So okay,
and lots of room for trees.
Okay, Julie, our visioning exercise is done here for now, and we'll just get to work now. Roll up our sleeves and see how it goes.
That's right.
Thank you again for making time for the show. It's great to chat with you today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and go Rangers.
Go Rangers. Julie Wright, Ward 7 Councillor for Uptown in Waterloo, joining us to talk about the report from the Sustainability Advisory Committee, which leads to, I think, visioning exercises, the likes of which Julie and I just kind of had in an ad hoc way here on the show. Would love to hear from you. What makes a great uptown or downtown? Let's have the conversation. You tell me what's missing, what's going well in the core of your city. This is the Mike Farwell Show. Phone lines open to you on 570 News Radio.
Since the King Street reconstruction, finished up, we really blossomed. We have a very low vacancy rate in Uptown. The BIA does fantastic work to activate the Uptown, and we just need to build on that. And we're so fortunate because there are so many communities across Ontario that are not thriving the way we are. So we definitely have to take that and, figure out how to build on it.
It is a 30-plus page report from the Sustainability Advisory Committee in Waterloo to Council, which was brought before Waterloo Council a week ago. And when it's 30-plus pages, there's a lot of there. But the overriding themes, 4 key areas that Waterloo's Sustainability Advisory Committee is looking at are pedestrianization, parking, nature-positive planning, and buildings. We were just joined by the councillor for Uptown, Ward 7's Julie Wright from Waterloo. And we kind of got into some of that excitement and enthusiasm around what the core is today. And you heard Julie talk about how she feels as though Waterloo's core is as good as or better than so many others right now. And I have a difficult time disagreeing. We were just in Uptown a couple of weeks back trying a new restaurant, and it's a pretty active and vibrant place. And when we get into the nicer weather months, well, I shouldn't even say that, because lots of programming happens in the colder weather seasons too. I'm just a big baby and I don't like the colder weather, but nonetheless, there's lots of activation going on, things to attract us into that core throughout the year. And I do believe that the core is the essential heartbeat of a community. So as Julie and I had the conversation and started getting excited about what is and what could be, it just got me thinking from your perspective, what is it that makes a downtown attractive? What is it that makes a downtown a good downtown for you? Would love to get your thoughts at 519-570-2545, star 570 and 1-800-570-5715. The number one thing for me, the first thing that always comes to mind is people. It's as simple as that. If there are people in your downtown, and I don't necessarily mean pedestrianization of streets, although I certainly see the value in that and how it brings people literally, so you're seeing them and not their vehicles, into a core area. But if you have the people there, I think the vibrancy naturally follows. So what do you need to do to attract the people to that core? Again, I'll go back to those activations that we talked about, that we see from the Uptown Waterloo BIA constantly through the year. Lots of opportunities in the summer months, lots of opportunities in those times where those activations are happening to close down streets temporarily to vehicle traffic and allow pedestrians to take over. And we've seen this clear across the community, right? Kitchener just was recognized provincially for what they have done events-wise in the city. And we took part as Kitchenerites, my beloved and I took part in lots of those downtown Kitchener activities last year. And we were just talking about this when we've been covering the Heritage Conservation District in the core of Galt and the work that's been done in Cambridge to close streets down on certain times during the year to allow more pedestrianization. Hespeler Village has done a very good job of that in recent years. So it encourages people, it incentivizes people to come into the core and take advantage of what is there. I remember coming out of one of our favorite restaurants in downtown Kitchener some time back now, and it was a Friday night. We were coming out of the restaurant a little after 7, maybe, and I was taken aback by how empty, quite frankly, the downtown was. That's not what we need to have in any core. Again, I'll come back to what makes a great core from where I'm sitting is people. So how do we get the people there? And I think back to, the earlier days when I was younger and what downtown had to offer somebody who was younger, right? Sam the Record Man, thank you very much. Movie theaters, you bet. I was downtown all the time. The video arcades that were there, I know I'm dating myself here, but for somebody of my age at that time, that's what attracted me downtown. Obviously, today, it's much different things that attract me downtown. Is it the shop that I want to go to because I love to shop local? Is it the restaurant that I like to eat at? Is it the museum exhibit that I want to visit? I think we can find a way to make something for all ages and all demographics, but it's an ongoing challenge. And along with that challenge comes the challenge or the criticism that cities spend too much time focusing on their core areas while neglecting the suburbs. And I'm old enough to remember when Kitchener was going through its second revitalization effort, there was a lot of criticism from folks living on the outer limits, let's say. And the criticism was, hey, what about us? You're spending all of this time and all of this energy in the downtown, but what about the rest of the city? I really do think that the core of the city kind of sets the bar. And I could go off on all kinds of visioning exercises about, grand entrances to downtowns. I think Kitchener's got a huge opportunity in and around Rockway Gardens to make that the beginning of your entry point into the core, the heart of the city. I think Uptown has done a pretty darn good job in Waterloo. When you get to King and William, you can feel that you've entered that Uptown core. And they're doing some work right on the King and William area to kind of attract you to that or draw your attention to that fact. So anyway, I think there's lots of meat on the bone, but it doesn't come inexpensively and it doesn't come quickly. And so maybe we spend more time dreaming than doing, at least for now. Right now, I have to get you to the 570 News Center for an update. And then today is Autism Awareness Day. A new report, though, from Wilfrid Laurier University tells us that moms of autistic children are earning less than dads of autistic children. We'll dive into that data coming up on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio. Today, this April the 2nd, is Autism Awareness Day. We were watching a little bit of basketball here at the hotel last night, and I noticed that they are having an Autism Awareness Initiative league-wide. Every coach will be wearing a special pair of shoes on the sidelines to recognize Autism Awareness Month as part of an NBA-wide initiative, which I thought was pretty cool and a nice little connection to the conversation we are going to have on the show this morning. To help us along with this conversation, Janet McLaughlin joins us. Janet is an associate professor of health studies at Wilfrid Laurier University and herself a mom to an autistic child. Janet, good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
New research from Laurier tells us that mothers of autistic children in this province are earning only 66% of what fathers earn in the same households. What is the impact of that?
Well, the impact is that many mothers are having to give up the careers that they trained for, whether that be as teachers or nurses or in the trades, or they may have to be working part-time or different jobs because of the demands that they experience as caregivers.
And this connects also to another study that shows us that autistic children in this province experience some form of school exclusion. And what this is telling me, Janet, as we mark Autism Awareness Day, is that we've got quite a bit of work to do.
Yeah, so there are real reasons for this disparity, and that's what we were trying to show. Basically, the impacts of service challenges and how they affect families. So with the study you were referring to, that was led by my Laurier colleague, Margaret Schneider, and it found that over 42% of caregivers were reporting that their autistic child was not attending school fully. So they were being excluded in some form. In some cases, they were being told not to attend school at all. In other cases, they were on modified or half-day schedules. And more frequently, they were just being called to pick up their child at random times because the school couldn't manage the situation. And typically this would be falling on mothers to leave their work or leave whatever they were doing to do this. And that made it very hard for them to keep their employment. But another factor I really want to mention here is the long wait list for autism therapies. So the wait list is now over 5 years. And these therapies can be critical to help autistic children learn skills like toileting, communication, safety, and self-help skills. And so if there is no funding available for these therapies, what often happened is that mothers were quitting their jobs in order to effectively become de facto therapists, trying to teach their children these skills that really they should have been learning from a therapist.
I recall back in 2018 when Doug Ford first became Premier of Ontario, and there was a great deal of conversation around cuts to autism funding. And I seem to recall in the budget last week that there was some autism funding associated with it. But in a general way, Janet, how are we doing in that regard when it comes to those provincial supports?
Yeah, actually, I was on your show at that time chatting about this.
I remember, yeah.
It's been an ongoing saga. So it's true. They have actually increased autism funding over the tenure, and of course that is welcome. But there's a couple of issues. The first is that more children are constantly being diagnosed, and so even if we're funding it more, there's more and more demand, and so the demand is not keeping up. The supply is not keeping up with the demand, rather. But the other issue is that the funding is very heavily spent on bureaucracy. So every single year, anyone in the autism program must go through a 4-hour-long interview to determine their children's financial allotment. This process is exhausting. And it's also not very accurate because some parents can advocate better than others or articulate their children's needs better than others. But this 4-hour interview determines the funding for the child. And so that's just one example of a huge amount of money going towards these 4-hour-long annual meetings as opposed to just being funneled to the families to provide services. So there's a lot of issues here. It's not just about the amount of money, it's about the way the money is being spent.
What do we know, Janet, of the impact on mothers, because primarily they have become the therapists or the caregivers and the de facto therapists, and the children themselves who are suffering from this school exclusion, the lack of funding for necessary resources? What are the impacts of this in a household?
Oh, they're huge. So one of the things our studies have looked at is the difference when families feel that their children are being well accommodated at school and when they're receiving the funding. All of a sudden, we notice improvements in mental health outcomes and physical health outcomes of caregivers as well as children. And so being properly accommodated and supported makes a huge difference for the entire family unit. But financially also, these issues have huge impacts because clearly if one of the caregivers in the home cannot earn their full income or any income, that has a huge stress on the family. And parents of autistic children have to save more money than the average family to often support their child throughout the life course. And so it just has a ripple effect on everything. And for children themselves, not being able to learn the basic skills that they need to thrive. I mean, just take the skill of communication. This is a skill that all of us need to be able to ask for what we need in life and to get across our hopes and dreams. If you cannot communicate, it is profoundly limiting. And many autistic children struggle with this, and they really need qualified therapists to teach them how to communicate. If they can't verbally communicate, perhaps they can learn through an alternative system. But without this, they are stuck in a world of silence. So you can only imagine how this would impact the children as well as the caregivers.
You mentioned earlier, Janet, that you and I have had this conversation before, or a similar conversation when those autism funding reductions were happening way back in 2018. And I recall back then, this balance that you were trying to strike as the mother of an autistic son and maintaining your career at Wilfrid Laurier University. And I wonder what the underlying message here is in these studies that we've talked about today, that there is this school in exclusion, that mothers are earning 66% of what fathers earn in households where there is an autistic child. I mean, we must be talking about getting at some sort of policy change so that this balance can be maintained in households.
Yeah, there's a number of policies that need to change. First of all, with respect to the services, we need families to be able to access therapy and respite services with minimal wait times. Waiting 5 years during children's critical developmental windows is far too long. And we need the education system properly funded so that all children can attend school safely and appropriately and learn what they're supposed to be learning and be surrounded by their peers each and every day. So funding needs to be increased, but it also needs to be improved the way that it's spent. And then, of course, with respect to employment, my case is a perfect example. I felt completely overwhelmed when my son was newly diagnosed and I was navigating all of these unknowns and trying to support him learning everything while being a new professor and trying to learn that part of my life as well. And so I actually asked at the time, could I go on a leave? Could I work part-time? And my employer, my dean at the time, said, why don't you try something else? Why don't you develop online courses that would enable you to work fully but flexibly? And that suggestion that he made changed my life because it allowed me to keep my job, to keep my income, and also to have the flexibility to be there for my son. And so that is actually what inspired this study. So the other piece of the puzzle here is thinking about how employers can be more understanding and accommodating. Obviously, not every job will have a remote component that they could offer, but even just being able to allow caregivers protected time off if their child is called for them to pick them up, whatever employers can do to be more understanding and recognize the essential role that caregivers play would be very welcome. And the mothers in the study, most of them wanted to be working full-time, and they felt a great sense of loss, losing their careers that they had trained for and dreamed of. So we want to keep people fully employed and contributing to the society and the economy, and we all have a role to play in doing that.
Where does your research take you next?
Oh, great question. So right now I'm actually doing a study with Indigenous and newcomer families to try to understand the compounded challenges that they face. Because the past studies where we surveyed Ontario-wide caregivers, they tended to be completed by higher income families, and we wanted to reach those from more marginalized communities. And that's what we're focusing on now, to hear their stories.
Janet, really appreciate the perspective on the show today and the work that you have continued to do on this file. It's important stuff, and I know it affects many families in the community. So very much appreciate your time today. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for raising awareness about autism on this day. We appreciate it.
Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
Janet McLaughlin is an associate professor of health studies at Wilfrid Laurier University. This is Autism Awareness Day. And doesn't that lay bare the challenges that we still face? We are underfunded. Stop me if you've heard this one before. The funding that has been increased, too much of it has gone to bureaucracy instead of getting to the important services that are critical on the ground. And we know that primarily when it comes to a household, even in this modern day, women shoulder the burden of responsibility for care of that household. And this latest research from WLU tells us that mothers of autistic children in this province are earning only 66% or 2/3 of what fathers earn in the same households. And a corresponding study by one of Janet's colleagues at WLU finds that 42% of autistic children in this province had experienced some form of school exclusion. A lot of work still to be done. This is Autism Awareness Day. I mentioned at the outset, if you are a basketball fan, pay attention to those shoes the coaches are wearing around the NBA, because that's part of an initiative that is drawing attention to autism awareness throughout this month of April. The awareness is important. These conversations are critical, but now the policy change has to follow suit. This is the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio. As I look out yonder window here at the remote studios in Saginaw, Michigan, it is about as dreary as days can get. And I know you are suffering the same fate back home. I hope you're doing okay on what I understand is a pretty soggy Thursday back in the region as well. We have reached that time of day every day around 10:20. I like to take a moment to remind you that not everybody is a jackwagon. We are strange creatures, we humans, aren't we? And we tend to dwell on the negative, and bad news always sells better than good news. But I like to take a moment just to bring some good news into your day, maybe even brightening a day as dreary as this one. So let me tell you about Logan Vanjamer, who is a fourth grader from right here in Michigan. I say right here in Michigan because that's where I am right now. And he learned hands-only CPR at school. Little though did Logan know he would be called upon to use it the very next day. The 9-year-old was at church when one of the church leaders suddenly collapsed from cardiac arrest. And that is when Logan sprung into action.
I heard a voice in my head telling me to go, so I sprinted over there and it said some pretty good things about me. You go like this for CPR. You gotta press down really hard. So then I did CPR on him, and I did the same thing I did just now.
I was like, that was God. God gave him supernatural strength to just roll this man over and start performing CPR, gave him that knowledge, because he learned that within 24 hours, used it. It was amazing.
Logan's mom says she is beyond proud of her son for stepping up and doing something extremely difficult, even for an adult. And Logan is now being hailed a hero for saving the man's life. There you go. The 9-year-old who just learned hands-only CPR at school puts it to use the very next day and saves a man's life. There are obviously some religious overtones to that story. Logan says he heard a voice in his head telling him what to do. His mom says there had to be some sort of divine intervention here, didn't there? And it just makes me think of the weekend that we are entering, of course, the Passover, the Easter weekend. And forgive me, because I'm fairly certain I have at one time shared this before. I got a call yesterday on the show from Terry, when I was relating another story that I guess I had related before, and Terry remembered details that I had chosen to leave out this time. So for the most loyal and attentive listeners, thank you as always. And if I get too repetitive in my stories, please take a moment. Just let me know. Drop me an email anytime and say, Farwell, enough of that story. Okay. I don't know. I can't remember how many times I tell it. I might forget tomorrow that I told it today. Anyway, my point in all of this, because I know I have mentioned it before, but I describe myself today as a mediocre Catholic, and I know that hurts my poor mom's heart. Went through the Catholic school system here in our region, attended church regularly with the family, and I was far too old, in my opinion, to finally learn what the Easter celebration could really be like at our Catholic church. So as a kid, I will be honest, I kind of dreaded the Easter season because it meant so many times going to church, right? We'd go to church an extra day during the week for Lent. Sometimes we would do the Stations of the Cross. And then, of course, there was Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and the Easter Vigil on Saturday. And we, as a family, were almost exclusively Saturday evening churchgoers. I remember in my youngest days, it was pretty frustrating because church started at 7:00 and hockey night in Canada didn't start long after. And I remember, I still to this day remember walking out of the church, looking at the clock, thinking, oh, how much of the game have I missed? I can't wait to get home and watch hockey. But we were always Saturday churchgoers. Every once in a while it would be Sunday, but almost always Saturday. And I struggled. Not only like as a kid, I thought, oh my gosh, I have to go to church so many times over Easter. But truly, just even as somebody practicing their faith, I had a hard time with particularly the Good Friday service in the middle of the afternoon, the solemnity of it, the darkness of it, quite frankly, and then that Easter vigil on Saturday night. I didn't mind sort of the aesthetic of the candles that we would hold and all that, but it was a long mass, and it was, I mean, we would as a congregation participate in the readings and say things like crucify him, and I struggled with that. I was well into my adult life when, for whatever reason, getting to church on the Saturday night didn't happen as per tradition. So I went on Easter Sunday morning, and it was one of my favorite church experiences ever. It was bright, it was colorful, it was happy, it was joyous. I'm like, all these years, my ding-dang parents have been taking me to the Easter Vigil on Saturday night, and I'm just bummed right out by this. I don't want to shout crucify him in church. But Sunday morning, the Easter Sunday Mass, oh my goodness, loved it. Absolutely loved it. And let me tell you something, that was the last time I ever went to an Easter Vigil. I didn't know I could choose one or the other. We just always went on Saturday, so that's what I did. I had options all those years. I told you I'm a mediocre Catholic. I'm looking for the fun Mass, not the dreary one at the Easter Vigil and Good Friday. Oh my goodness. There's my little Catholic story, mediocre as I am. All right, an update from the 570 News Center is coming up. Then it's Thursday. That means Gary Chalk is here with Living Retired on the radio, and a little birdie tells me we might just get a moose sighting before 11. If you know, you know. Stay with us on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio.
Ooka chaka, ooka, ooka, ooka chaka, ooka, ooka, ooka chaka, ooka, ooka, ooka chaka, ooka, ooka. I can't stop this feeling deep inside of me. Girl, you just don't realize what you do to me. When you hold me in your arms so tight, you let me know everything's alright. I'm hooked on a feeling. I'm high on believing.
It is that feeling we get every Thursday morning right around this time, isn't it? That means it's time for Living Retired on the radio. Living Retired is a humor column written by our good friend Gary Chalk. And you can find it online at livingretired.press. Gary brings it to life with Living Retired on the radio every Thursday morning here on the show. When you visit livingretired.press, I would highly recommend you sign up to have that column delivered directly into your inbox every week. I get it into my inbox, and it's always good to have a chuckle in there with all the memos from the boss that I tend to ignore. See, Gary's Living Retired column is something I actually read in my inbox. And also get in touch with Gary through the website, livingretired.press, and invite him to speak at your service club or a retirement gathering, some other corporate function, because as you hear every Thursday on the show, he's got his own unique style that always gets us laughing. And we welcome Mr. Chalk to the show for another Thursday morning. Gary, good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, Mike with a mic. How are you?
I am doing so well, all things considered. It's day 3 of 3 here in Saginaw. Well, 3 on the air, 4 days. We traveled down on Monday. So I'm looking forward to the end, Gary. It's almost done.
Okay, here's a question. In your hotel room, can you get the television to work?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I should say sometimes. I can't tell a lie. Sometimes I can.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
And, this is what's amazing. Mike, you're in Saginaw. You're in a different country. I am over at the world headquarters of Living Retired in St. George, and in between us are the 570 studios in Kitchener, and through all this technology, it actually works. So, Mike, why can't some smart people get together and use some technology or whatever and come up with a resealable baggie that actually reseals it the first time you try?
Gary, that is an excellent question. I couldn't agree more.
Exactly. Hey, yesterday was April Fool's Day. Did you do anything? Any pranks?
No, I tried to play it low key this year. I think my pranking days are behind me.
You say you're pranking or you're cranking?
No, definitely not my cranking. My cranking days are still here. You know it. But my pranking days are behind me.
Okay. Well, until a couple of years ago, I used to always like to pull an April Fool's joke on Jan, and I got quite elaborate, to tell you the truth. And then finally she said, Gary, every day is like living with a fool. Enough is enough. And that was the end.
Put your pranking days behind you.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, how many Farwell Force members are you up to now?
Oh, my gosh, we're more than 360, Gary.
Whoa. And, there's probably thousands and thousands of other listeners. They haven't bothered to become a Farwell Force member. But do you have any sense of where they come from? I'm assuming most of them are from Waterloo region, maybe a little beyond?
Most are from the region, yes, but several are beyond. This technology today where you can stay in touch with your hometown when you've relocated somewhere else, people listening online all the time, it's really quite fascinating.
Yeah, well, the proof is in the pudding. Last week, you promoted people to go on the website, etc., and I got a message from person Derek, and so I welcomed and said thanks, and it's just for my own interest. I always like to know where these people heard about me, where they live. And so he responded, he said he lives in Hull. And I thought, well, that's great, right across from the border of Ottawa there. No, he lives in Hull, United Kingdom. And he listens to the Mike Farwell show.
I love it. See, you know what, Gary? I'm going to say audio, use it in my next performance review and say, hey, we're international on this show now.
That's right. So we can go forward. We can say Mike with a mic, Mary on her bike, and listening in the United Kingdom is UK Derek. We can just sort of flow with that.
UK Derek. I like it.
Got it. Okay, now let's sort of complete the sentence here. Like, for example, if I said garbage, I think the first word you'd think of is Waterloo region, right? If I said water, once again, you'd probably say Waterloo region. If I said fireworks, once again, you'd probably say Waterloo region. Not trying to pick on Waterloo regions, but complete this sentence. Spring blank.
Flowers.
Oh, okay. I thought, many people would say spring break, and which again would think Waterloo, students on Ezra Avenue. Or spring break means you're a college student, you're broke, you're tanning yourself in Fort Lauderdale, drinking cheap beer. But if you said spring cleaning, it also means you're a college student, you've graduated, you own a house, and you're still broke. So spring
That's
cleaning
a good one, Gary. That's a good one. Spring cleaning. Yes.
Yeah, well, it's on everyone's mind. Sort of like the rites of passage. Baseball in the spring, maneuvering yourself through the potholes. And one time I tried to grow a playoff beard was better than Sidney Crosby's, and I managed to do that. I think most people do. Anyways, Jan and I, we put together a list, and I think the listeners may appreciate this today. This is a list of all the things you have to assemble, the various products and things you will need before you can begin your spring cleaning, because as we all know, preparation is key. So, on the list for Jan and I,
absolutely.
On the list, extra absorbent paper towels, extra absorbent rags, non-scratching brushes, non-scratching sponges, a microfiber hand duster, some additional vacuum bags, and, of course, a HEPA replacement filter for the vacuum cleaner. Need some environmentally friendly stain remover, lemon fresh furniture polish. We need streak-free window cleaner. We need mountain-scented room freshener. We need pine scent toilet cleaner, disinfecting wipes, latex-free rubber gloves, hardwood floor cleaner, garbage bags, a bucket, and most of all, Epsom salts for your bath. After all this work,
Gary, you've got everything covered. Everything.
Yeah. The thing is, as soon as you get all that stuff, you're tired. You haven't even started. So I checked in online because Jan and I say, well, where are we going to start? Well, according to the experts, they say you begin cleaning your house at the farthest point in your home away from the front door. So sort of imagine your house. There's the front door. Where is the furthest point from the front door? That's where you should start. So in our home, the furthest point from the front entrance is the laundry room when we come in from the garage. Now, Mike, in our laundry room, we have our washer, we have our dryer, and we have a beer fridge. So I'm telling you, it's only logical that I would begin cleaning with a broom and a Bud Light. I started looking forward to this spring cleaning.
That's the perfect way to do it.
That's right. What can
Gary, if we had if we had a beer fridge in the laundry room, I would do more laundry.
Hey, Mike, most of the cleaning chores you split between your wife and yourself. You know, they're sort of single chores as a team, but you execute separately. However, the one chore that requires the two of you to actually work together on is cleaning the windows. So here what you do, you gather from your list of all the products that you purchased before. And so you get your spray cleaner, guaranteed not to streak, but does. Get your paper towel, guaranteed not to streak, but does. And, of course, then you need a ladder. Now, depending, you may choose a step ladder, or you may get one of those 20-foot tall expandable aluminum jobs. But here's the tip. Make sure that you get a ladder that tips. You have to have one that tips, because if you got on one that didn't tip, you'd fall because you're not used to stepping up on a ladder that doesn't tip. So you got to make sure you get the right ladder to begin with. And then when you do the windows, you got to remember the only thing between you outside on the ladder and your spouse inside in the living room is a huge honking fragile piece of glass. Just saying, that's what's between the two of you. So this is where communication comes in. Your wife will be in the living room, and she starts to scream, saying, "You missed a spot. No, there, over there." Now, eventually, she'll resort to sign language, pointing to all the spots you missed. Meanwhile, up on the ladder outside, husband, he begins screaming like he's Josh Allen calling a football player, "Where? I can't see anything." And this goes on until at some point in time, your windows are gleaming, or, as I always say, that's good enough. And at this point, if and only if you and your spouse are still on speaking terms, you can now move inside into the house and begin to clean the closets. Now, to be safe, before you tear out all the clothes in the front closet, be sure to open an account with a dispute resolution firm. It's always good to have them on speed dial, because now you're continuing to work with your spouse to clean out the closet. The problem with cleaning the closet, there isn't that fragile piece of glass separating you and your spouse. You're standing side by side, and she's hauling out all this winter clothing of hers. So eventually you finish the day. It's been a long, long day, and it's been excruciating. You're tired, your bones ache, and about 9 o'clock, your wife will go into the bedroom and she'll collapse onto the bed. At the same time, the husband, he collapses, of course, over the decorator pillows on the floor trying to get into bed. You knew that one was coming, Mike.
I did.
Yes. So then your wife will reach over, and before she says goodnight, she'll pick up the remote on your movable mattress thing, and she'll adjust your side to anti-snore. Then there will be a few minutes of silence. It's great. The day's been long. All the bones in your body are aching from cleaning. The room will smell like Rub A535. It's dark. It's quiet. 2 minutes later, your wife will suddenly spring up into the bed and say, I just remembered, the cleaning lady's coming in the morning. And with that, it's 11 at night, you and your wife are running like maniacs all through the house. I'll put the dirty dishes in the dishwasher. You take your empties out to the garage. I'll run the vacuum over the carpet. Make sure you don't forget the empties you left over there by that door. We got to get our house clean. The cleaning lady can't see what a mess we live in.
Gary, it's like brushing your teeth before you go to the dentist.
You're right. You go in, your gums are swollen because you've brushed them so much.
Exactly. You got to clean before the cleaning lady comes. You got to brush before you go to the dentist. And you got to listen to Living Retired on the radio every Thursday morning. Thanks again for being here.
Gotta go. Go Rangers.
Gary Chalk, the author of the Living Retired humor column, brings Living Retired to the radio every Thursday morning at 10:30. Remember, you can find Gary's column online, livingretired.press. While you're there, sign up for it. Make sure it gets delivered right into your inbox. And if you want to invite Gary to speak at your event, a corporate event, a retirement party, a service club, whatever it happens to be, you can find his contact info at livingretired.press. And then you too can learn how important it is to clean before the cleaning lady comes. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I mentioned it about 10 minutes ago, maybe a little more than that. I said, there might be a moose sighting before 11. If you know, you know. And I have sighted the moose. He's going to join us next on the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio. Well, as you know, we are on the road in Saginaw, Michigan. Rangers Spirit, Game 4 tonight, game day, baby. Playoff game day. And we don't get anywhere with this hockey club without the man who is now sitting next to me in the remote studios at the 4 Points Sheraton in Saginaw. Mikey the Moose Reeves. He's got his Rangers sweatshirt on. He's got his Detroit Tigers ball cap. He looks like Magnum P.I. Magnum P.I.
That's right.
Moosey,
yes.
First of all, how you feeling? We were out last night for a couple of Yinglings, some Detroit-style pizza, which was delicious. It's not like you to miss a meal like that.
Good morning, Mr. Farwell. No, I was quite ill. No, not quite ill, but I just a little indigestion, I think, from breakfast yesterday. And it wasn't feeling good all day. Passed on lunch, passed on dinner, just
Passed on Yingling, passed on Detroit-style pizza.
A couple of beers and food. And you sent me a note, and Danny called me. I couldn't do it.
All right.
I was afraid, so I think we had to take a pass, but we'll get the next round.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard that all season.
We'll get the next round.
You and your little Tyrannosaurus Rex arms have not picked up a round all year.
No, we were coming down last night. We were going to get that.
Yeah, of course you were.
We were.
Famous last words.
But yeah.
Buddy, why is it you were so excited that the Rangers got Saginaw in the first round? What is it about this place that gets you all fired up?
Oh, it's this hotel. it's this hotel. We've been coming here to the Sheraton 4 Points ever since I've been here, and IHOP is next door. All the malls and plazas up and down the street. Everything is handy.
That's true.
And 5 minutes to the rink up and down the highway.
It's pretty easy.
Easy peasy.
You went over to IHOP this morning, didn't you?
I was at IHOP this morning.
Yeah.
Wonderful people.
Really?
Wonderful people.
What'd you order?
I had the 5 stack of pancakes.
Very good.
I was going to do something else, but no, 5 pack of pancakes and some toast, coffee.
You have
friendly people.
They are friendly people.
Very friendly.
I met a guy from the off-ice crew here in Saginaw. He took me out for dinner last night.
No way.
Yeah. So I made a new friend. And you know what? His name's Mike. There's three Mikes.
You always make friends.
I make friends.
Wherever we go, you make friends.
Friends in every place.
Every rink we go to.
You have certain traditions, habits, whatnot, when the team is playing. I remember in Erie in the playoffs a couple of years ago, you would stand behind the net, but when the game got too tense, you would have to go out to the bus.
I go back and wait in the bus.
Right.
I can't watch.
What's your ritual here in Saginaw? Because we're way up high in the press box, so I lose track of you. Where do you watch the game from?
One spot, right where they come out of the corner. That's the only spot.
Right where the Rangers dressing room is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stand there. That's it. There's nowhere else to go. That's the best spot. And it's not the best spot, but you can see everything and you watch the screen. So,
and in overtime on Tuesday night, did you stay there? Did you have to leave?
No, because they were supposed to go to dinner after the game, but we went to overtime and the place closed at 10. So little Nick and I had to go get the food and bring it back. So I didn't see the overtime.
Wow.
I was following the score on the Nick had you guys on the.
There you go. That's the way to do it.
Nick had you guys on the phone there on the online there. We were listening to that. Yeah. But then he went in, then I saw the score of it. But yeah.
Good. And everything worked out.
But otherwise we were watching. Yeah, down the corner.
Something else I thought about, and we talked about when we got down here on Monday night. How many deer, Moosey, do you see on this I-75 corridor?
Look, Danny and I were talking about that. That's always the conversation from Port Huron to Flint. That's a terrible alley. And he counted over 30. I lost count after 2 dozen. So, they're on both sides of the road. They're done. We figure it's probably the spring that's done that. And they don't pick them up. They're there. They don't pick them up. So it makes you warm and fuzzy for tonight to go back.
Yeah, that's always in the back of your mind, isn't it?
Yeah. So the whistles are on and we'll see. Danny even has them on his truck too.
The whistles to keep the wildlife away.
So
yeah.
They must work because we do come across them sometimes and they just stand there. You see them, they're close, but they don't move. So haven't had anything happen since we put them on, since the moose showed up.
The moose showed up in Sturgeon Falls 9 years ago.
So yeah, we since then they've been on and we've seen deer, but not out in the road.
All right.
At least close to us, up ahead a bit, but yeah.
We'll knock on some wood for that. We wouldn't be doing our jobs here this morning if we didn't get your bold prediction for Game 4 tonight. You live and die with this team. You know everything about the Kitchener Rangers. How are you feeling about tonight's game?
Oh yeah, tonight. I think after the other night, I think we had lots of chances again and lots of shots. I don't think it's going to. I don't know. I think we're going to win by a few tonight. I don't know. I don't think it'll be as close. I think we'll get it going tonight. The big guys didn't the other night. It was all defensemen were scoring.
And we want to be a little selfish, don't we? Let's just get it over with, not have to make it back on Monday.
Now it's, they're a good team, and if you don't sit on those 3 Russian kids, like they run around crazy on that. Holy mackerel! But if we do that, we think we win tonight, and then we'll get some time off.
All right, Moosey.
Get a week off.
What time's bus this afternoon? What time do I have to be ready?
Oh, you're talking to the wrong guy.
You got to drive us there. You don't know what time we're leaving?
Usually,
that's okay.
Usually between
4:30. It's 4:30. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Usually it's between 4:15 and 4:30, but we're only 5 minutes to the rink here. So, and then we'll get there stupid early, and then and then we'll go to the media room. Oh yeah. And maybe sometimes the best one in the league. So we'll see what happens tonight. Oh, a big hunk of pie the other night.
Oh, you had a chocolate cream, eh?
Oh my God! You slice up your own. It's just great.
Yeah, and when you slice up your own, you took a quarter of that whole pie.
That's right. I was going to bring the whole thing over, and then there was chicken, and of course Jets pizza. Oh my God, you love your Jets.
I love my Jets pizza. I do.
What a place!
All right, Moosey, get some rest this afternoon. We'll see you at game time.
Okay, Mikey. Thanks.
That's the Moose joining us on the Farwell Show, 570 News Radio. Well, I am sure that you know by now that the first Thursday of every month here on this show is reserved for a Throwback Thursday. We take a little step back in time and uncover fascinating stories from the city of Waterloo's past with our friends from the City of Waterloo Museum. And the current exhibit that is there, called A Distiller's Tale, the art and legacy of the Seagram's Distillery, is going to close later this month. So you've got until the end of this month to get your visit in. The exhibit looks at the 130-year history of the Seagram Distillery, which operated at the corner of Herb and Caroline Streets. Some of you have already been sharing Seagram Distillery stories with me this morning. I love it. It was there from 1857 all the way through 1992. The exhibit explores how the distillery was more than just a local employer. Seagram's was a cornerstone of the city's economic and social fabric, known for its strong workplace culture and, of course, its community roots. So stop by Tuesday through Friday from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. to visit A Distiller's Tale, the art and legacy of the Seagram Distillery. And always joining us for these Throwback Thursday chats, Jennifer Huber, a program and engagement associate with the City of Waterloo Museum. Jen, good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
I am doing great, thank you. How are you?
Wonderful.
Good. Glad to hear that. So, A Distiller's Tale, the art and legacy of the Seagram's Distillery. The end is now in sight, unfortunately, but how do you plan to send off this exhibit, Jen?
You know what? Every good drink comes to its last pour, and that is what we're looking at here right now. So, we thought we would close with a big way. And we would go out with something called Barrels and Bites, a whiskey walking tour in Uptown Waterloo that shares one last big celebration. It's curated whiskey and wine tasting with food pairings, live music, and of course, some local history.
Love the local history for sure. And so tell me more about what we plan to do here.
Yes. So we have partnered with the Uptown Waterloo BIA to feature 4 incredible pairings brought together by local restaurants. So guests will visit the Soleil Restaurant and Wine Bar, Bodega Rose, La La Social House, and the historic Hoother Hotel. From there, they will get to do some exploring, because these food pairings have been put together in partnership with the sommelier Gary Bernier to highlight what is unique and different about each one of these Waterloo sites. What is that special something that they're bringing to life? So that'll be what will be fun about that. And then obviously the City of Waterloo Museum will be there to share some fun stories. We also have 2 actors who will be bringing together the prohibition debate. Should we ban alcohol or shouldn't we? And finally, the last one will be No Discernible Key. They'll be providing us with some tunes with a twist, is how I like to think about it, because they'll be doing some throwback music for us.
You kind of had me at sommelier, but so much more to enjoy. I love the connection to the Uptown Waterloo BIA and the pairings with local restaurants. I think it's a great way to kind of tie this all together. So I want to keep learning more, but we're getting a little bit of a feedback issue here. I want to try to sort out. So we'll take a quick time out and come back and continue our conversation with Jennifer Huber, Program and Engagement Associate with the City of Waterloo Museum. The exhibit, A Distiller's Tale, is closing shortly, but we want to make sure you It is a Throwback Thursday here on the show. First Thursday of every month, we make it a Throwback Thursday with our friends at the City of Waterloo Museum. Remember, you can stop by Tuesdays through Fridays between 10 and 4 and visit the City of Waterloo Museum. Admission is absolutely free, FREE free. And the current exhibit, A Distiller's Tale, the art and legacy of the Seagram's distillery is closing later this month. So we're taking a closer look at the exhibit and how they're going to send this exhibit off with a bang, including partnerships with uptown local restaurants. Whiskey Sommelier is going to be a part of things. The City of Waterloo Museum sharing local stories, and No Discernible Key is going to be providing tunes with an historic twist. Tickets are $85 a person. It's a 2.5-hour tour and tasting through Uptown Waterloo. And you can get more details when you visit the City of Waterloo Museum website. Jennifer Huber is a program and engagement associate with the City of Waterloo Museum. So, Jen, let's talk about some of the stories and the history of the various buildings that folks will encounter on this tour. What can you tell us about?
Well, if you join us on the tour, you will visit a very famous Waterloo landmark, and it will be the Hoother Hotel, or the Heater Hotel, if I'm pronouncing it in its proper German there. And to give you a little background, it starts off as the first brewery in Waterloo in the 1840s. And it actually wasn't until the 1860s that the Heater family, German immigrants, actually took over the property and started brewing there. First, it was under Adam, the patriarch, and then Christopher, his son, joined the business. Now, when Christopher came, he wanted to expand from just a brewery into the world beyond. And in the 1880s, he put a 4-story yellow brick addition onto the building. And this wasn't just any addition. It was an exquisite hotel. They named it the Hoother House, and it was quite beautiful.
I have a painting of that at home. It's one of my favorite pieces of local art. And I'm glad you reminded us of that proper German pronunciation, if you will, because I take pride in my German roots, although I'm relatively far removed from them. But I was always calling it the Hoother until there was a player in the Ontario Hockey League, played for the Sudbury Wolves, and his last name was spelled exactly like the Hoother Hotel. And that's when I learned it's actually pronounced heater. All those years, I didn't know until that player came into the Ontario Hockey League. So there you go. What more can you tell us about this hotel in Uptown Waterloo?
So it's the same version that it's in your painting and that many folks are familiar with, that beautiful 4-story yellow brick. But it wasn't just supposed to be some large yellow brick wall along King Street. It was actually supposed to be an artistic vision. If you look closely at it, you'll notice that the yellow bricks create careful designs. And some of those designs are called corbelling. They're kind of back and forth bricking. If you look at the windows, they have beautiful arches above them there. And then what's missing from today is the dramatic roof line that they had previously had on the building. It was a large roof with beautiful iron railings along the top and ornate chimneys there. Now, if you're wondering where those went, it was a fire in the 1960s that took those away from us, that lovely elegance. But you can still see some of the other features on the building when you visit today.
So I know the Heater Hotel is not going to be the only stop we get to enjoy on April the 14th. What else will we be seeing?
You're so right. We're going to stop by another yellow brick, and I would argue pretty famous building in Waterloo. It's the Soleil Restaurant and Wine Bar. This is a 1-story building, but you'll still see some of that decorative brickwork that I was talking about. They have these pretend or fake brick pillars that they put into the design. We still see the decorations around the window. But I do have to say, my favorite part of this building is actually the door to the Soleil restaurant. And if you haven't noticed it before, you'll have to at least drive by to take a look. It is an ornate, beautiful wooden door, and just above it, it says established in 1857. Now, it's a replica door, but it is based on the original distillery door that they used to welcome folks into the Seagram's distillery. And that door for the distillery said established 1857 when the distillery was established, but the building that Soleil was in was actually built in the 1850s. And it was built not so much to be a fancy restaurant, but rather to be a foundry where they were making metal works for farming implements at that time. It takes a little longer before it makes its way over to be part of the Seagram's family, where it was originally, you'll never guess it, the horse stables.
Oh. Jen, I have enjoyed so many delicious meals there. I had no idea about this history.
Absolutely. And it does transition from a horse stable, as you can imagine. In the 1840s, it becomes the maintenance shop. And to me, that sounds kind of like, does it matter? But absolutely. It was lifeline for the distillery. It was what kept everything running. It kept the bottling line moving and the liquor, or to be liquor in whatever state it was, flowing for the
I
distillery.
absolutely love that. I will think about all of that as we're enjoying our next meal at Soleil, because it's just so rich with history. Okay, what other stops will we make on April the 14th?
Yes, so we're going to head down to the corner of Herb Street and Regina Street to 17 Herb Street, where the Bodega Rose is today. Now, I had never really looked at that building's architecture in great detail until I was getting ready to do this particular tour, the Barrels and Bites one. And I noticed that it's a regular square kind of shaped building, but it has this unique triangle peaked entrance coming out of it. And I couldn't quite figure out why a building would need that, or why a building would have that. So it sent me back to the archives, and I was doing some digging, looking in aerial photos, some newspapers, and I found out that the building that's there was originally built in the 1850s, and it wasn't really for a fancy, delicious restaurant, but rather than cooking oil, it had automobile oil. So it was a Texaco gas station, and it was owned by Harry Stoser. And he ran the gas station for a few years. And that back bay windows where the restaurant kitchen is today was actually large doors where they would have brought the cars or the vehicles in that needed repairs, oil changes, and so forth. What more people might remember the location as was actually the BP gas station that followed it from the 60s into the 80s as it was. And then in the 80s is when we see the BP slow down and we see it transition in the 1990s to a restaurant. And since it's no longer a gas station, we see an addition put onto the building. And it's that addition that takes what was then a square building with a small square office in the front and turns it into a large square building, and making that little office into a triangle peaked entrance that it is today. So we can see how that building has grown and changed. And if you walk around to the back of the building to Hughes Lane, you can actually see the two different sections of the building. So some fun adventures next time you're uptown Waterloo.
I love it. And my inner nerd is coming out. Like, I'm so jealous of that job you get to do when you're looking at a building and wanting to learn more and jumping into these archives and looking at old photographs. I just think it's so cool. So we've got the Soleil restaurant and wine bar. We've got Bodega Rose. What's going to be our final stop on the Barrels and Bites tour, Jen?
Yes, our final stop will be at Lala Social House, which is right by the corner of King and Allen Street in uptown Waterloo. And this building was interesting too. So originally it was part of a furniture company. It was the Wangnast Furniture Company that starts in the mid 1800s in Waterloo. And they made, from what I can tell, like literally everything. To give you an idea, they had cabinets, doors, spinning wheels, shingles, beds, tables, dressers, and the list went on and on and on. So they were making all these lovely wooden products. And as you can imagine, having lots of wood laying around maybe made them a little fire prone. So unfortunately, they had a few fires before they eventually turned their facilities into brick facilities. And again, we see them sporting that beautiful yellow brick that we see in Waterloo all over the place. And the part that today Lala Social House calls home was in the 1900s expansion when the Snyder and Roos Furniture and Upholstery Company adds in. And what they do with the part that today is Lala Social House is they kind of turn it into a storage facility. It's a 3-story tall building. So on the first floor was a packing room. The second floor was for upholstery, and the third floor was for the polishing space. But right at the very front, where Lala Social Bar today has their bar, it's a beautiful, lovely bar inside there, was actually the offices that ran the entire factory and kept everything going. And when you walk by, you'll notice it still has some of that beautiful brickwork that they feature on the front of the building with those arched windows and the decorative corbel bricking that I mentioned earlier on some of the other buildings. Now, If that building's not sounding familiar to folks, others might remember it for what it was in the 1980s, which was the first home of the Brick Brewery in Uptown Waterloo.
Okay, you got me. You got me, because that's what I remember it as, Jen. That's exactly what I remember it as. That's awesome. Are you going to be leading this tour by any chance?
I will be hosting it. We will have 4 different stops along the way. So you will get to see some of my colleagues, some of the folks we brought along to share some of that local history. But I am very excited for this special event for us.
I think it's fantastic. So it's Barrels and Bites, an Uptown Waterloo whiskey walk, a specially curated evening. You got the whiskey tastings, you got the food pairings, you got live music, and all of this local history tied into it. April the 14th, and there are 2 tour times, 6 or 8:30. Where can we get tickets, Jen?
So you can go onto our city's website under upcoming events and you'll find that there. Or you can go to barrelsandbites.eventbrite.com and you can order your tickets there. And I will say they are selling quite fast. So
Shocker.
If folks are interested.
Yeah, if you're interested, get in on those tickets now. I'm not surprised at all. And it's the final month also to visit the exhibit, A Distiller's Tale, the art and legacy of the Seagram's Distillery. And, you mentioned the original location of the Brick Brewery. And we've talked about this a little bit before, and I think most folks get it. Like, we have a pretty rich history of spirits, alcohol in the community. And I don't mean that in a bad way at all. Heck, we've got some great stories from folklore about bootleggers around these here parts back in the day.
Sure do. We got a rich history here, and it's fun when we get different ways to celebrate it. So this was kind of a unique twist on celebrating some of the buildings that we have, the stories, and so forth. So,
all right, I'm going to encourage everyone, check out Barrels and Bites under the events page of the City of Waterloo website, which is waterloo.ca, or go to barrelsandbites.eventbrite.ca. You can get tickets there April the 14th, either at 6 or 8:30, 2 different tour times, and you can enjoy all of this and learn more about this rich history. Jen, it's always fun. Thank you very much for being with us on another Throwback Thursday.
yes, thanks for taking this trip down memory lane with me at the City of Waterloo Museum. Folks can visit us in person at Conestoga Mall or explore some more local history online at our website. But until the next time, keep the past alive.
Jennifer Huber, Program and Engagement Associate with the City of Waterloo Museum. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your Throwback Thursday.
Thanks. Have a great one.
You too. Bye-bye. I love these conversations and what we learn about our community's past, and the old Rum Runner pub in downtown Kitchener, right? Al Capone's name has come up on more than one occasion, and I'm pretty sure it's the stuff of folklore, but connecting tunnels beneath buildings in downtown or uptown to make sure that bootlegging could happen undercover, underground, out of the sight of the local constabulary, because, prohibition and all of that. Lots of fun. The Barrels and Bites whiskey and tasting through Uptown Waterloo on April the 14th. And the first Thursday of every month, Jen joins us from the City of Waterloo Museum to share some glimpses into our past. Don't forget, you can visit for absolutely free Tuesdays through Fridays from 10 until 4. The City of Waterloo Museum is right there at Conestoga Mall. And that Distiller's Tale exhibit ends later this month. Will the Kitchener Rangers first round playoff series with the Saginaw Spirit end tonight? It could, but as they famously say in sports, the 4th game of a series is always the toughest one to win. The Rangers are up 3-0. Game 4 is tonight, and of course, we are your home of Kitchener Rangers hockey, so we have got you covered from pillar to post. We're going to start with the Harris Law pregame show at 6:30 and take you through all of the action, even if that action includes overtime like it did on Tuesday night. Josh Piercy, my broadcast partner on Rangers hockey, is going to join me in the next half hour. We'll get you all set for the game tonight, and we'll tell you what we just found, all these trips to Saginaw, and we just found this yesterday. Stories coming up on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio. Well, this is not just any old Thursday. It's a game day. And more to the point, it's a playoff game day. Kitchener Rangers, Saginaw Spirit, right here on your home of Kitchener Rangers hockey. Tonight, the Harris Law pregame show gets going at 6:30. Josh Piercy and I setting the scene for you. Rangers and Spirit, Game 4, Kitchener up 3-0. That means it could, emphasize could, all end tonight. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, but you know everything you need to know is going to be right here, starting with your Harris Law pregame show at 6:30. And when it's a playoff game day, and we're on the road, and I tend to get lonely and a little bit squirrely in my remote studio in the hotel in Saginaw, I'm like, Piercy, you're doing a segment with me. And he's like, of course I am, because it's game day, playoff game day. So Josh Piercy joins the... How do you feel about the studio in here anyway? Like, I think I should do something with the decor.
Mike, you often call me your broadcast partner. I feel more like your cellmate over these last 4 days.
Cellmate.
Because you and
4
I...
points. It's really nice, though. Trust us.
Oh, it's a beautiful hotel. No problem. But yeah, I feel like we need to get a projector in here and just throw some tropical views on the wall or something, because it's getting bleak. But the rain doesn't help. But we're almost there, like you said. And a big important game tonight to get us home, get us back to our wives and our beds and our normal creature comforts instead of hotel food and sleeping just a couple of feet away from your cellmate, your broadcast partner cellmate.
I love that. I'm going to remember that. I'm going to get a T-shirt for the next trip that's got an inmate number on it. Okay, you mentioned the rain today. I know our friends back home are dealing with the same kind of weather. And that means it's really going to impact our daily routine. So let's just bring folks kind of behind the scenes here, what life is like on the road. And you and I have a tradition. It's great. Like, I love that you were so into it from the get-go, because this is your first run with us here on the Rangers tour. But we get out for walks, game days, off days, etc. And I cannot believe I was yesterday days old when you found, like, how many times had we walked in Saginaw before yesterday, and you came across a little oasis in this concrete jungle out here.
Compared to the rest of what we usually walk in here in Saginaw, it really is an oasis, because we're used to walking, side along Walmarts and Bass Pro Shop and Denny's. Or last time we walked here, we walked by a poor dead deer on the side of the road with his tongue sticking out. It wasn't great. But yeah, instead of turning right, I said, something spoke to me. Something spoke to me, said, turn left, Piercy, turn left, and you will find the oasis. And I did. I found a little pond, and look, it's covered in goose poop, and it's only about 1.5 kilometers long. But when we're here on the road, especially in Saginaw, we will take what we can get. And we took it, we got it. But today, Mike, it looks like we might just be having to rely on the treadmill or a couple of laps around the hotel instead, because I don't think we're going to get out in this.
No.
Well, we got caught the other day, you and I, in a rainstorm on our way back from that walk, and it's lucky we're not made of sugar, because we got pretty wet.
We are socked in here weather-wise in a big way. So you're right. We're not getting out to the oasis or any other place. And you're right. The other day when we went out, my phone told me that it was 18 degrees outside. So I did the full-on Phil Collins, no jacket required. I was in a T-shirt. It was not warm enough for a T-shirt at all. And then it didn't just rain, it poured. And it's funny, we're on a 4-day trip. Like, we left Monday, so this is day 4. And I try to pack as best I can, as little as possible to make life easier. My only pair of jeans, my only pair of walking shoes got completely soaked, and I did not anticipate that being a part of my journey this time.
When we first started coming on these trips earlier in the year, I would pack, 4 pairs of pants and 4 shirts and 4 sweaters. Now I have realized you really have to be as economical as possible with your packing. You get a pair of pants, you get a pair of more casual pants, like a sweatpant, you have your suits. But other than that, I rotate between 2 sweaters, rotate between 2 pairs of pants. So if you get wet, if you get caught in a rainstorm, it's bad news bears. We came in, we laid it on top of the AC unit. Now this place smells like
it's gamey in here. So gamey.
Eau de men. It's not great. But Yeah, like you said, we've only got we're counting the minutes now towards check out of here, check into the Dow, and checking out what should be a good hockey game.
For whatever reason, I had the two sweaters this time. I did not have the two pairs of pants. So I was wearing my dressier pants through most of the day yesterday as my jeans dried out. But enough of that. You mentioned checking into the Dow. Let's get down to business here, Josh, and talk about the Kitchener Rangers, and then we'll get into more of the playoff series, as one of which is over now already. But the Rangers have put themselves in a tantalizing position going into Game 4 tonight with the 3-0 series lead.
Yeah, the lead is significant, but also the way that they've been approaching these games are significant as well. I think that just looking at the box score, maybe Rangers fans would have questions about, having to come from behind in Game 1, then having to come from behind in Game 3. But, I think the eye test tells you that the Rangers are more dominant than the score line is saying. The shots 54-20 in Game 3 is pretty incredible, and you'd expect that the Rangers would have pulled away more than they did. It didn't work out that way, but sometimes that's just the way the puck bounces. Sometimes that's just the way things work out. And I think if they stay focused on that kind of game plan and focused on continuing to find the offense while also being very stingy on defense, that things will find a way to work out. I think we might see 2 or 3 of those pucks that knocked off posts and knocked off crossbars on Game 3. If they turn into goals instead, you find yourself really routing these guys and having a good dominant win tonight in Game 4, and then just setting yourself up for, this hasn't been an easy round, but truly everyone after this is going to be a real battle. So you'd like to give yourself as much time to recoup and to reset as possible.
You mentioned those 54 shots in the overtime win on Tuesday night, 50 in regulation. So the 4 come in overtime, but it was during overtime that the Saginaw Spirit did not get a single shot on goal. It was only 6:39, but the Rangers carried the play and had the only shots. You go back to the end of Game 2 in Kitchener when the Rangers won 4-0. Saginaw did not get a shot for the entire third period. And then the first period of Game 3 on Tuesday night, we were more than 10 minutes into the third period, or into the first period, pardon me, before the Saginaw Spirit got a shot on goal. So they went more than 30 minutes of hockey without registering a shot on goal. Then they end up in a do or die, winner take all, first shot, first goal wins playoff or overtime, and they don't get a shot on goal. And I bring that up just to talk about, I think, the way the Rangers have been playing this series and really what has been their calling card. It's a defense first philosophy. UC Ahoka says all the time, you have to defend well. So I know fans look at this and say the Rangers are the number 1 seed and Saginaw is the number 8 seed. It should be 10-2 every night. It's not the style of hockey the Rangers play. Their success comes from limiting the other team's chances.
And it's the way it works. If you're a high skilled winger, but you're in your own zone, the tag that you have on you in terms of your position doesn't really apply. You have to play defense. You have to play along the boards. You have to play down in the corners. You got to get that puck out of the opponent's hands, and you got to get it back into yours. So with having that kind of work to do, you can't always set yourself up to be hanging around in the neutral area and ready for an outlet pass. They just say they work slowly, they build, but they build strong foundations in the defensive zone. That helps them work into the offensive zone and set up prolonged stretches where it's stuck in that zone, where the opposition is smothered in that zone, and that's what's led to the Spirit having such having stretches where they just can't get the puck and they can't find a way to get shots away. I think we've learned a lot about the Spirit too in terms of how they react when the chips are down. When they were ahead on how many different occasions in Game 1, and they still kept letting that Rangers goal in and letting it come back to a tie when it came down to period 3 in Game 2, and they had an opportunity to go ahead and get the go ahead. That first Sam O'Reilly goal goes in less than a minute into that period, and they can't find a way to respond. And then same thing in Game 3, they're ahead. they're 3-2. The Rangers respond, and it seems like all the wind is out of their sails there. So I think that's a lot of the experience piece that we've been talking about. The Rangers, most of these guys, many of these guys have been there, done that in terms of playoffs, in terms of important games, and it's just not the same for the Spirit. It will be one day. This is a very talented young team. If they can keep this core together, I think Chris Lasry has really some gems with which to work. But for the time being, they're being outclassed, and they're definitely out of their depth in terms of the way that this series is working out against these experienced, and it's a Rangers lineup where you can throw really any four lines out there and get a pretty good response out of those guys.
Yeah, depth is the key piece to all of this as far as I'm concerned, because the Saginaw Spirit, as talented as they are, it's one line of really high level talent. And, they led 3 different times in game 1 and the Rangers found a way. Saginaw led with a goal in the 3rd period on Tuesday to grab the lead, and the Rangers would come back and tie and then win in overtime. What I will say about this Saginaw team is there's no quit in them. I'm sure they're frustrated. They're feeling it. Their season could come to an end tonight, but you got to watch this cornered dog, because I'll tell you, I don't know where their big players, Nikita Klepov, Dima Zhilkin, and Igor Barabanov, get their energy from, but they are like Energizer bunnies out there, and they're out there so often. The Rangers' top lines, the Rangers' top shutdown guys are getting called upon just as often, and I think that it's the Saginaw youngsters that are kind of winning that battle, if you will, of wills when it comes to how much can you physically take in a game.
Yeah, the worry that I had in terms of Saginaw taking one of these games of this series was that that line would find a way to kind of grab the rest of the team by the scruff of the neck and just pull them over the line and have a night where they really explode offensively. How it's been so far, they had 20 shots in game 3. I would have assumed that at least 15 of those came from that one line. So you're kind of hurting in terms of the depth of the team. But yeah, boy, those 3 guys. And then also, I think Levi Harper and James Go on the blue line are really good defensemen. Harper, I think specifically, has a very, very bright future, and will one day, his name will be called out by some NHL team, and they will be very lucky to have his services. But for those 3 forwards, yeah, it's going to be a situation where maybe we see these guys down the line, maybe next year or in 2 years, and they get their revenge on the Rangers. But for the way it is right now, with the way these teams are set up, with the way that Mike McKenzie has created this lineup now to go for it this season, they don't quite have what it takes to beat this Rangers team, and we'll see tonight if that can kind of come to fruition in terms of a first round sweep.
Josh Piercy has been my broadcast partner on Kitchener Rangers games for 68 in the regular season, 3 so far in the playoffs. He's been my cellmate here in Saginaw the past 4 days. We'll take a look at the rest of the OHL playoffs and get you ready for tonight. Rangers Spirit right here on your home of Kitchener Rangers hockey. Stay with us on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio. The Kitchener Rangers have put themselves in position to finish off their first round series versus Saginaw in the minimum number of games. They take on the Saginaw Spirit tonight. Pre-game coverage will start at 6:30. Josh Piercy, my broadcast partner on the air and cellmate here in the hotel, joins me to get us ready for the game tonight. And looking around the league, Josh, 3 other teams have the same opportunity the Rangers have tonight. That is to sweep their first round opponent. Ottawa up 3-0 playing in Kingston tonight. Brantford up 3-0 playing in Sudbury tonight. And the Windsor Spitfires up 3-0. They've got the Guelph Storm on the brink in Guelph tonight.
Yeah, I think that what we've seen from all 3 of those series as well is a similar thing in Kitchener, that they're good teams. Brantford, Ottawa, and Windsor, they're not having the easiest time in getting past their first round opponents. Specifically in Sudbury, they almost stole one from Brantford back in game 3, and it was all the way down to overtime for them to sort things out. I think Kingston's given the 67s a decent run for their money as well, and I think if any game, or if any one of these series is going to be pushed to game 5, I'd probably expect it to be that one. Kingston maybe stealing one at home ice against Ottawa. But I'd expect Windsor to get the job done in the Royal City tonight, because if anything, that's probably been the most lopsided series of those three. Guelph are just having a whale of a time getting any scoring going, and there's kind of no surprise why. They've at points this season had trouble scoring when guys like Tyler Hopkins aren't going through these stretches where they're really hot and putting up 5 points a game. So yeah, it's been a couple of good series. I would expect at least 2 of those 3 to close out also with sweeps here tonight. But like I said, Lake Saginaw's made themselves proud. I think the Wolves have done so as well, and that's never an easy place to go up in Sudbury.
Certainly not. Now, speaking of trouble scoring, one series that is over, and it's like it never began for the Owen Sound Attack. My goodness, did they get thrashed by the Flint Firebirds. The Firebirds finish it off in a sweep, winning 6-1 last night, and they set a new OHL record. They smashed the old one. Flint outscored Owen Sound in the 4-game series 35-3. The 32-goal differential is the largest in a playoff series in OHL history, surpassing the 25-goal margin the Belleville Bulls held over the Peterborough Petes in 1998. 25-goal margin in 98, a 32-goal margin here in 2026. That was a dusting.
It's pretty incredible. And I just want to take people back to the beginning of the regular season here, where the Owen Sound Attack were on top of the Western Conference. They were looking like one of the most dominant teams in the league. We were making comparisons with them to the likes of the Florida Panthers and the way those guys play, just hard, really take it to you style hockey. And that has completely evaporated, and this playoff series where they were completely crushed, I can't remember, not only in this league but sports in general, a first round playoff series that has been this one-sided. Not in the NHL, not in basketball, not in baseball. So an embarrassing end of the season for the Owen Sound Attack, and it is going to be a summer where they are going to have to look themselves hard in the mirror and say, how do we get ourselves out of this? Otherwise, it could be a situation where they end up like someone like the Oshawa Generals next year, just sitting dead last in this league, and not much of a hope of playoffs in next season. So really, it's going to be a tough task there. Not sure if they're up for it with the way they're set up right now.
We were enjoying some camaraderie with our friends on staff at the Kitchener Rangers last night, just some quiet time away from the game, but we were keeping our eyes on the out-of-town scoreboard, and we did not mind a whole lot that the London Knights won a game up in the Sioux last night, Josh.
The more that either of those teams who the Rangers will face in round 2, the more they have to travel between London and Sault Ste. Marie, the better, because it's a long sit on the bus no matter which way you take. I believe London goes through Michigan and then out Sarnia back to the Forest City, whereas the Rangers, we normally go up and around Georgian Bay and up to Sioux through Sudbury that way. Either way, whatever way they go, whatever amount of bus travel they had to do, the more that either one of those guys has to do, the better. So good seeing London get that win, take that series back towards their way, and let those guys wear each other out.
Absolutely,
that's what would work best, because it's gonna be a heck of a second round series no matter who you put.
So Sioux still leads 3-1, but they missed the chance to sweep last night. Game 5 in that series goes tomorrow. I mean, go ahead, London, win on home ice, travel all the way back up, right? Either way, that's why we didn't mind London winning last night, because the extra travel and the wearier teams in that series could benefit the Rangers should they do what we hope they do tonight and advance past the Saginaw Spirit. Can we just get a little selfish here, Josh? Because if the Rangers can pull this off, we got clear skies and a long weekend ahead of us.
What a beautiful Easter weekend for you and I, Mike. If they can figure it out, we'll have a little fish and chips tomorrow night on Good Friday. We'll have our Sunday dinners all ready for us. And yeah, things will just really set up nicely. We broadcast guys also need time to recoup.
We need time to recoup, yeah.
We need time to recoup, go back, watch video, try to figure out where we went wrong.
Analyze our performance.
Our performance. We do it, folks. We do it. We're athletes too. Just we're athletes of the mind.
So, athletes of the mind and the vocal cord. And we will be ready tonight, starting at 6:30, Harris Law pregame show coverage. Josh Piercy and I from the Dow Event Center. Can the Rangers pull off the sweep? There's only one way to find out, and that's by being right here with us on your home of Kitchener Rangers hockey, 570 News Radio. Good luck this afternoon on the treadmill. I don't do treadmills, so you're on your own, pal.
Appreciate it, man. I'll speed it up a little bit just for you.
And watch out for the guys in this prison with their shivs. It's dangerous around here.
Well, we do get a hard time when the players see us in the workout room. They do make note of it, and they do make sure that we know that they're noticing.
We're putting in the reps. Your Talkback Hour coming up, our last hour of the week, because tomorrow's the holiday. Cue them up and let's have a conversation started by you. Talkback is next on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio.
Take out the papers and the trash, or you don't get no spending cash. If you don't scrub that kitchen floor, you ain't gonna rock and roll no more. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back.
Just finish cleaning up your room. Let's see that dust fly with that broom. Get all that garbage out of sight, or you don't go out Friday night. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back.
Don't look now, but this is your final Talkback Hour of the week. Tomorrow's Good Friday, don't you know? We have a day off from the show, which means no free phones Friday. So we could call this Three Phones Thursday if you want to, or anything of that ilk. But it is our final opportunity to converse with one another until next week. And we always take full advantage of these final hours of the 20 we get to spend together every week here on the show. As of today, it'll be 15, not 16, 4 days, but I took the last hour of Monday's show off so I could get to the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium, hop on the bus, and get to the place where I've been broadcasting from ever since, here in the cozy confines of the 4 Points Sheraton in Saginaw. Conversation is open to you, a reflection on the stories of the day. You want to talk some OHL playoffs, anything else that's on your mind. If there's an issue important to you, but we want to hear about it because that makes it important to us as well. 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. Let's get Talkback started for this Thursday afternoon with Brian, Farwell's Force member number 28. Good afternoon, Brian.
Good afternoon, Mike. I got three quick questions for you. And the biggest issue is number one, is Josh dressed yet?
Oh, he's dressed. Thank goodness. Like I was not. Listen, we have to. It's a cozy enough room. If we're going to be sharing the same microphone, we're practically shoulder to shoulder, and we were not bare shoulder to covered shoulder. He was fully dressed.
Okay. Number two, I sent you an email. Are you cheering for London or the Sioux? Come on, be honest.
I'm cheering for 7 games. I don't care. I want it because if London wins tomorrow, then both teams have to go all the way back to the Sioux for Game 6. And if London wins there, both teams have to come all the way back to London for Game 7. More travel, the better for the Rangers.
And double overtime makes it even worse, right?
Perfect. I'll take it. Bring it on. Triple overtime. Let's go for it. Okay.
Okay. And number 3, Farwell's Force number 29, Margaret, used to go shopping in Frankenmuth and Saginaw. So when you run out of clothes, you can buy some. They do sell clothes in Saginaw.
Listen, I'm looking out my window, Brian, and they sell everything here. Like welcome to Middle America. Well, it's not Middle America, but this is a perfect American highway that I'm staring out at right now. 4 lanes of fast moving traffic, a Denny's, an Outback Steak Shack, a Texas Bar and Grill, and all the shopping you could possibly want.
Yeah, and you got 38 T-shirts and sweatshirts at home, and you don't need any more. But
I certainly do not.
But you might want to pack one more each trip.
Well, I did not anticipate the walk in the thunderstorm. That was definitely a rookie mistake on my part. But fortunately, my pants are dry now, so there you go.
All right, you guys have a great night tonight. I hope they win so you can get a weekend off and have a good Easter.
Thanks, Brian. You too. Appreciate hearing from you today. And I think we're all hoping that the Kitchener Rangers can pull this off. It's not easy. And this Saginaw team is a feisty bunch, but I love the makeup of our team. And I've got some faith. We'll see how it goes. By the way, if there's a game 5, if Saginaw wins tonight, it'll basically be a race. They'll follow us right back to Kitchener for game 5 tomorrow. And we'll see each other all at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium for a Good Friday hockey match. But if the Rangers can take care of business tonight, that'll just be an afterthought. Let's go next to Gary on Talkback this afternoon. Farwell's Force, member number 41. Good afternoon, Gary.
Hey, buddy. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Just driving around in the downpouring rain in Guelph. It's coming down.
It's everywhere.
It's coming down.
You got the same weather we do.
Yeah, it's coming down pretty good. But been listening all week, Mike, and sounds like you're slowly starting to feel a little better.
I'm glad it sounds that way. I have felt fine. It's I'm not. I mean, I was probably 87%, but my voice was abandoning me. And listen, Gary, I need one thing in this life. In this professional life, I need one thing. I need a voice, and it abandoned me, and I was not happy with it.
Well, I totally hear you, but you did a fantastic job, and you got your sidekick beside you, to help you out with the games, and I'm very happy for you guys and the Rangers. Man, you guys are doing well, and let's hope that you guys can take it tonight, and then. You can all have a weekend off as a well-deserved rest for sure. But all the best, Mike, and good luck tonight, and happy Easter, and go Rangers, go.
Gary, appreciate the call. Good to hear from you. A very happy Easter to you as well. And if we get some time off, all the happier, I suppose, it turns out to be. It's something that's been on my mind, and I wanted to share with you because I came across it in a couple of different news stories just this week. And I mean, I'm always curious about your thoughts on these things. And I know that this gets kind of onto a shakier ground or a slipperier slope because we know how the narrative has gone or how the conversations have gone in recent times here in the region. But just factually, I'm going to point out now what multiple sources have been hinting at in Cambridge. And I say multiple sources because in this line of work, right, first you hear something or learn something, and then you corroborate that by backing it up with a second source. And so these two stories kind of jumped out at me. One was a story about an historic plaque that tells the story itself of Idlewild Park. This plaque is mounted very nicely along the Speed Island Trail near the 401 in Cambridge. And we actually covered this as a segment sometime last year on the show when the Waterloo Historical Society was getting this plaque all finished up and ready. And it just tells this great story of the history of Idlewild Park and the community of Idlewild that was in that area all these many years ago. And as it turns out, this plaque has been quite significantly damaged, and it appears to have been damaged through the use of an angle grinder. And a member of the Waterloo Historical Society was quoted in the media as saying, and I will read the quote, "The amount of money being spent by people in that area would curl your toes regarding security fences, etc. Several company owners I know spend $250,000 a year on security." And this would be in the Eagle Street and Industrial Road area of Cambridge, not far from where this historic plaque sits along the Speed Island Trail. And, that caught my attention, among other things. And you take that story and that suggestion from the member of the Waterloo Historical Society that these businesses in the Eagle and Industrial Road area are spending all kinds of money on security for their businesses. And then you add to that what was shared on social media by Ward 1 councillor in Cambridge, Helen Schwery, who has posted photos of piles of stripped wires, extension cords, cables, all piled up in a wooded area near Industrial Road in Cambridge. And according to Councillor Schwery, businesses are not only having to pay for the stolen items like the wires and propane tanks and other things that get stolen, but they're often faced then with fixing property damages as well. So you've got these similar narratives from two different unconnected folks in the community, one a member of the Waterloo Historical Society, the other a member of Cambridge City Council, and they're pointing to the problem with theft. And I think, and in the case of the plaque, I guess the damage done to the plaque, but the use of the angle grinder, that would be a common tool used in the theft of some of these other things, maybe cutting through a fence, whatever the case may be. And I recognize that the kind of shakier ground we end up on here is we begin to target or think about a certain population or demographic in our community. We know, like we hear all the time about these thefts from businesses, copper wire thefts, etc., bicycles, things like that. And it's not to say that, people who are living unsheltered are a menace of some kind. It is to say, though, that we recognize these crimes of opportunity whereby these kinds of items, right, anything metal, think of all the other kind of plaque markers that have been stolen around the region because they can be melted down or sold for scrap, right? Anything metal, the copper wire, take your pick, the propane tanks that might be used in some sort of encampment area as a source of heating. And it's not to paint those folks who are struggling with one broad brush and say they specifically are the problem. What it is to say, though, and this is what I've been thinking about through the week after reading these stories, is that these businesses in this area of Cambridge are facing increased costs for doing business. The security that they invest in, the damage that they have to repair, the insurance premiums that they are likely paying because the acts of vandalism or theft are happening repeatedly. And if in your community, the cost of doing business continues to increase, what do you think is going to happen to that business in the long term? How many do you think might just throw their hands up in the air and say, I'm done with this. I can go to community X, Y, or Z and forget property taxes and business taxes and any of the other taxes that a business assumes by setting up shop. Think about these ancillary costs, if you will, that seem to be connected in particular to this area of Cambridge. So I'm not saying let's go out and round up people who are living in homeless encampments and throw them in the clink. I am saying that we have a deeper problem here. And if we don't address the problem, our problems are going to get that much bigger because when business leaves, so do jobs. And when jobs leave, the economy as a whole begins to suffer more and more. This is the longer term play. I'm getting maybe a step or two down the road, but I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of that business owner. And I'm asking myself, for how long do I put up with repeated break-ins, thefts, vandalism, you name it? Again, I want to be very clear that I'm not blaming a demographic, but we know what's happening here. How are we going to fix the problem? Or when are we going to meaningfully address the problem so that we don't have bigger problems down the road when business starts leaving? It's kind of my take on this. It's been on my mind. I wanted to share it with you, and I'm always happy, of course, to hear your thoughts on these things. That's what the Talkback Hour is for. It's the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio. break-in to businesses in the Eagle and Industrial Road area of Cambridge. Is there a breaking point or a tipping point for those business owners? Do they say, I'm done with this area and I'm moving to another jurisdiction? And what are the implications of that? So I just bring it up to remind us, we know the problem exists. What are we going to do about it? If anything, if we don't want to do anything, that's fine too. But then I think we have to accept the consequences of our inaction on this. Anyway, like I said, that's my opinion. I'm sure you've got opinions too. And that's what Talkback is for. So let's go to Terry next on Talkback this afternoon. Good afternoon, Terry.
Hey, good afternoon, Mike. Yes, sometimes the grass isn't always greener on the other side in terms of these businesses. But anyway, Mike, I would like to thank the Owen Sound Attack for coming out and being in the 25-26 playoffs. I think they should all get participation ribbons. I don't know what happened there. I didn't think they would beat Flint, but I thought they would be somewhat competitive. I mean, maybe win a game or two. The one series that I thought was going to be a wash was Windsor over Groff. I mean, it could very well still be a sweep, but at least Groff has been, they haven't been getting their doors blown out anyway. So I think that whole organization should be ashamed of themselves for what they put those fans through. I think they're just lucky that Grant doesn't live in Owen Sound, because he'd want everybody fired up there. The bus driver, the stick boy, even that guy on TV with the funky hair. Grant would probably want him out too. I don't know what happened there, Mike. I've never seen that in my life. Like, I've seen, even in professional sports, I've seen like a team maybe get blown out one game in a series, but 4 games, my God, I don't know what's going on up there. Like, I'm surprised they even made the playoffs and then had that despicable display. It's embarrassing, Mike. It makes the league look really bad. I mean, I don't know, but some heads have to roll up there for this. I don't know what the answer is, but anyway, that's all I had to say, Mike. I'm just still shaking my head. Anyway, Mike, have yourself a good weekend and enjoy the last game. I think the Rangers are going to wrap it up tonight. That's my opinion, but we'll see.
I hope you're right. All right, Terry, thanks for the call.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Good to hear from you today. I don't think that Owen Sound's performance makes the league look bad. It certainly makes Owen Sound look bad. And it was a record-setting whooping for sure. 3 goals in 4 games Owen Sound scored while they allowed 35. It's utterly ridiculous. Embarrassing is the right word. We shall see how they move forward. And Guelph hasn't fared much better in terms of goals scored. They've only scored twice in 3 games, but to Terry's point, they have been better defensively. They've only allowed 10 goals, and Windsor's a pretty good team. But the Guelph Storm on the brink of elimination tonight as well. Talkback continues. Let's go to Mike next. Farwell's Force, member number 37. Good afternoon, Mike.
Mike, the talk about the pilfering of wiring and construction materials brought back memories for me. Approximately 2 years ago, I noticed that a neighbor's property, and I know the building supplier, I noticed that people were pilfering the anything from 2x4s, 2x6s, and wiring, any sort of. They broke into the guy's construction trailers, stole their tools, everything, Mike. Now, I made the mistake of actually reporting this to the police. And the one police officer who was very young brought them to my home. I supplied the video of them stealing it. And I agreed to testify in court. When I got to court, Mike, guess what? They only got 14 days in jail, despite my testimony and despite them being repeat offenders. So if you want to stop this, I think you need to, for these repeat offenders, they need to go to jail. I realize that some need treatment, but you can't keep continuing letting them back out on the street. And that's my thoughts. One more shout out, Mike. I'd like to give a shout out to the specialists at the Ontario Veterinary Clinic. They saved Raffi Ravioli's life this week. So I'm really grateful for that. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate the call. I'm really happy to hear that Raffi Ravioli's life was saved by the folks at the Ontario Vet Clinic. Well done. I'm always happy to hear a dog story with a happy ending, that is for sure. And look, I get where Mike is coming from. Repeat offenders, jail them, don't let them back out. We know, though, that the problem runs so much deeper, right? Do we have room to house all of these repeat offenders in the prisons that we have? Is that the right solution when they might need more than just a prison sentence? It speaks to the depth of the problem. All I'm saying is, based on the stories that I've read and the quotes that have appeared in them, if my concern is if we don't address the problem, what's the next step? If business starts leaving, if industry starts leaving, that's not good for us either. So we got to start figuring stuff out. We can see the problem. We have to name it, claim it, and tame it. As my late principal, high school principal said, Father Mike Kandari, name the problem, claim the problem as your own, and then tame the problem. Talkback continues here on the Mike Farwell Show. More calls right after this. 570 News Radio. I am certainly not the only one with opinions, so I invite you to share yours with me. Just make the phone call, we'll answer. You start the conversation. It's a busy afternoon on Talkback. It's our final hour together this week, so let's make the most of it. Preston Paul is with us next. Farwell's Force member number 45. Good afternoon, Paul.
Good afternoon. Yes, sir. 45 here. Anyways, Mike.
45. Checking in.
You got her. Just talking about that theft and that. We need to make the punishment to the point where they're going to think twice about doing it. This economic crimes against what they call white collar, it's only money, it's no big deal. It really does hurt our economy, and it hurts people that are trying to do business. We slap these guys in jail for years, and they'll think twice about picking up some copper wire. What do you think?
Well, I want to think that's the answer, Paul, but I'm afraid I don't think it is. I understand where you're coming from, but I'm not sure these folks are thinking about much else other than what they can get for the copper wire that they're stealing. And because that might be the money that gets them their next hit. And if they're addicted to something that they need to get a hit of, then that's the real problem here. And I'm not trying to excuse the theft. I'm just worried about, like, this is why we gotta get on top of this, because I see a boulder starting to go down a hill and it's gathering steam here.
Yeah, that's right. When you hear the police always say that we have resources, but we just can't be looking after everything. So that gets left by the wayside, and that's just wrong. It is. People like that need to be punished, and punished severely. I don't care. That it just makes me a lot safer and a lot happier if I knew these guys were going to spend at least 5 years in jail instead of getting out in less than 4 months and out there doing it again.
Yeah, no, I understand the sentiment, Paul. I do. Appreciate you weighing in today.
Yeah, you guys have a good night tonight. Go Rangers.
Thanks, buddy. Great to hear from you. Go Rangers. You too. Pre-game coverage will get underway at 6:30. Brought to you by Harris Law. It's the Rangers and the Spirit, Game 4. Kitchener up 3-0 in the series. Let's go next to Pat here on Talkback. Good afternoon, Pat.
Good afternoon. Well, the fellow just before the news break, they gave me actually two medical things to shout out about. Our dog, my son's dog, Bosco, had a tumor removed, and he would have been dead the next day. And it had attacked his bone marrow, and he had no platelets left. So a little bump, and he was done. And they brought him around, and he's doing quite well now. The reason my voice is a little bit off is I just got out of surgery myself on Tuesday. I wanted to shout out to the surgical team at Cambridge Memorial who replaced my left shoulder. Such a well-oiled machine. They did such a great job. I walked into the operating room, sat down, and they were all chatty. And I was a bit chatty, and they basically told me to shut up by just ignoring me and going about their business. And everything was so good. I have trouble shutting up sometimes. And all I remember is they told me, okay, you can lie down now. And that was it. No countdown, no nothing. It was perfect.
I love to hear it, Pat. I'm glad you got such good care. I'm not surprised. I hear it all the time. I mean, we've got problems in our healthcare system, but every time somebody has an interaction with it, all I hear is about the quality care that they received once they got to that care point. So I'm glad to hear it.
Oh, yeah. I'm so happy to finally be done with this. 3 years, I was still working when I needed the replacement, but and it happened quickly. I saw the surgeon in January, and I had it scheduled basically right at that point. I told him when I wanted to have it done, got it done March 31st, and I figured that will I have my plants started in the basement for my garden, and I figured by the time I'm ready to do any planting, they'll be ready to go, and I'll be ready to go.
Good stuff. Glad to hear it.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Pat. Good to hear from you. Speaking of, and I just want to say, I want to emphasize again, like we hear it all the time. I know we have issues in our healthcare system, right? Hospitals are overcrowded, wait lists are too long, it goes on and on. But every ding dang time that we hear from somebody who has had an interaction with our hospital system, I hear calls just like that, raving about the quality of care that is received. And I think that speaks volumes to the folks who work within a very challenging system. So my hat, were I wearing one, I would doff my cap to you right now, to all of our frontline healthcare workers. You are angels on earth, in my humble estimation. Speaking of shoulders, I actually had a couple of messages just about that just today, including from my old buddy Max, who I hadn't heard from in a while, and he had been checking in on me when I was complaining so much about the ridiculous pain I was going through, having pinched a nerve and gone through all this stuff. So let me shout out the folks at SOS Physiotherapy on Belmont in Kitchener, where I finally ended up going. I started about 3 weeks ago, and let me tell you, I've been to 6, I think, appointments now, maybe 7, or it doesn't matter how many. For 3 weeks I've been going. And this week I haven't been able to go because I've been on the road the whole week, but I am virtually pain-free. I forgot what this felt like, and I'm so happy to be feeling it. I mentioned it on the air in passing the other day that my pain level is about a 1. And one of my coworkers popped his head into the studio at a commercial break and said, "Hey, Farwell, be careful. At our age, if your pain level is anything less than a 2, you're dead." Because, when you get to a certain age, you've got bumps and aches and creaks and everything all over the place. But let me tell you, my shoulder has gone, it's just made a remarkable recovery since starting the physiotherapy. So I still don't have all the strength back in my arm, but the pain is blissfully absent, and I'm so happy for it. So thank you to the brilliant young minds at SOS Physiotherapy for fixing up this old fella, because, it's just nice not to be in pain all the time. Talkback continues. It's Kyle's turn. Maybe he's got a story to tell. I don't know. Kyle, you're next on Talkback. Good afternoon.
I get it, Mike. You wake up, you're sore, you get downstairs, your back hurts. I totally get what you're saying, buddy. It sucks getting old.
Listen, listen, you're not even, stop it. Just stop it.
I'm just being honest.
You're being honest. You're being a punk kid. You're being a millennial, you punk millennial.
Oh, I tell you, you older people, you guys just can't take a joke anymore, So.
Oh, I can take a joke, but I'm not going to take your crap, pal.
Anyways, Mike, go Rangers, go. Yes. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Let's go.
But
darn right I am.
Is it kind of bad that I kind of want to go to a game tomorrow, or is it Saturday? I mean, the same way. I want them to win, but I also want to go to a game on Saturday. So what do I?
There's no game Saturday, no matter what. Here's the game you can go to on Saturday, you dumbass. Go to the Titans game. I told you about that beginning of the show. It's Farwell for Hire Day with the KW Titans. If you use the promo code TitanPerk, you get 20% off, and you can come to Farwell for Hire Day with the Titans on Saturday at the Odd. There's no Rangers game. Knucklehead.
But if they lose tonight, where would they play? They played Friday, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's what okay, this is what I was telling, because my 5.5 over there was saying, no, they play on Saturdays. No, there's no way they play on Saturday. They always play on Fridays. And we had this whole conversation about it, and she's saying, no, they play on Saturday. And I'm like, no, they play on Friday. So thank you for confirming with me that they would play on Friday if that happened. But maybe, you know what,
If you want the unvarnished, okay.
Yeah, I'll talk to the family, and then I'll see what we're doing on Saturday. But I appreciate it, Mike. Thanks. Go Rangers, go!
Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate the call. If you want the unvarnished truth, you come to this show. There will be no hockey on Saturday, even if the Rangers lose tonight. If the Rangers lose tonight, and I don't even want to say that out loud anymore, so I won't, but there would be a game tomorrow, Good Friday. Eat your fish, go to Morty's. They're supporting Farwell for Hire too, and then come to the game. But that's only if there is a game. And the real game that matters is tonight's game, okay? Game 4. Pre-game show starts at 6:30 right here on your home of Kitchener Rangers hockey. And then you are more than welcome to spend part of your long weekend with us at a fun-filled family atmosphere, KW Titans playoff action, Farwell for Hire Day with the Titans. What more do you want on the long weekend? Get your tickets, kwtitans.com. Use the promo code TITANPERK, and you'll get 20% off. My buddy Frank sent a message first thing this morning after we talked about it. Said he's going to his first Titans game because he heard us talking about it. I'll be there. We'll have some goodies to give away. I'll set up. They're going to give me a little table to sit at. We can chat. We can watch basketball. Grand old time. We'll talk about Easter eggs if you want. Whatever. Come to the Titans game on Saturday. Andre is next with us here on Talkback this afternoon. Good afternoon, Andre.
Good afternoon, Mike. Let's go Rangers.
Let's go Rangers.
Absolutely. Couple things. One,
okay.
I heard this morning about what does bring people to a downtown core, right?
Yes, you did. I wish sometime I was surprised. Like there was so much time to call. I wanted to hear some good downtown ideas, and I got bupkis. But you can talk about it now for sure. What makes a good downtown, Andre?
Sorry, I was doing my chores.
Yeah, you were doing your chores. You can't pick up the phone. Stop doing your chores and call me. How hard is that? What's the matter with you?
Life. So I
okay.
have to say that to me, and it's always been there, and it was there before I was here in the 90s, but I heard that King Street and Charles or Duke or something like that, they were one way. Is that right?
Charles and Duke were both one way, yes.
Okay, so why don't we get rid of the cars on King Street downtown and make it more pleasant for the people, or even horse and buggy for people to ride with their champagne and orange and all that stuff and go around town. What do you think about that one?
I don't mind the idea of pedestrianizing King Street. I have long suggested that we could probably do it from Cedar Street all the way down to Victoria. But it's more difficult than you think, right? You got all that bus traffic and a whole bunch of other things. But I think Kitchener could get away with it because Charles and Duke are very, I think, capable roads to carry the traffic.
Yes. And then my last point, of course, speaking the truth out of my heart, Grand Pumbaa, but I do want to see a game tomorrow, Mike.
Andre, I'm going to hang up on you. Stop it.
Because Friday night,
Andre, careful.
Without the Kitchener Rangers.
Andre, if the Rangers win tonight, then you can wait till next Friday, and there'll be another series. You see? Okay.
Okay. I'll
okay.
take that one on you. Because
thank you. That's good. Now we have an agreement.
Perfect. Now my next agreement.
Oh my gosh, Andre, how many more agreements do you want to make here? What am I? Is this Let's Make a Deal? Am I Monty Hall now?
No. But I want to say this. I want to wish you good luck for your cystic fibrosis. It's starting in April, right? And I was wondering year, what are you? Pardon me. I was wondering, what are you going to do this year because of the team that we should not mention is doing so well? Are you going to get a tattoo done?
Oh, my gosh. Okay. Andre, goodbye. Thank you for calling. No, I will never, ever, ever do that. Unless maybe I put my beloved's name in it because she's a fan of that team. Anyway, Farwell for Hire does not start in April. But we are getting a good head start thanks to our friends at Morty's, the Good Friday fish. Order online, mortys.com. There's still some spaces for you to put in your pickup order for tomorrow, and they're donating a portion of proceeds to Farwell for Hire. Love it. That's giving us a head start on fundraising, right? And then Farwell for Hire Day with the KW Titans on Saturday. Titans taking on the Windsor Express. Go to kwtitans.com. Use the promo code Titan Perk. Get 20% off. Come on out to the game. We'll have a good time. And the Titans have been long supporters of our campaign as well. The campaign is not officially launched. When it does, you will know. I've still got some I's to dot and T's to cross and negotiations to work on at home because, you know, it's a pretty big undertaking for the Farwell family. But don't worry, there's going to be a 50-50 raffle, and I'm not getting a tattoo of that team. There's not a snowball's chance in Hades. What is the matter with you, Andre? It's Talkback on the Farwell Show, 570 News Radio. The final minutes of our final hour together for the week here on Talkback on the show. It's a long weekend, baby. And I will not be back. This just in. I won't be back till Tuesday. I have taken Monday as a holiday as well to get an extra long weekend. So let's make the most of our final minutes and get back to the phones here on Talkback. Mark is with us. Good afternoon, Mark.
Afternoon, Mike. Of course, go Rangers, go. I want you to enjoy your safe and happy trip home after the win tonight.
Thank you. Yes, we do. Good point, Mark. We still have to make it back home, don't we?
Absolutely. And happy Easter, Mike. And also, I find it a really cool story, Mike. The Canadian astronaut flying around the moon. It just fascinates me, Mike. The
you and me both, buddy.
It blows my mind away hearing stuff like that.
I couldn't agree more.
Okay, Mike.
Okay,
Go
Mark.
Rangers,
Thanks
go.
for the call, buddy. Go Rangers, go. Good to hear from you today. As I said on the show earlier when we were talking about Jeremy Hansen, our Canadian astronaut aboard Artemis, which is, yes, making its way into outer space. Some of us go into outer space and some of us sit in hotel rooms in Saginaw and talk on microphones. And I know which one of us fascinates us more. I think it's super cool. Imagine all the things I could have done with my life. Although, admittedly, I could not think of doing anything other than this because I just love it so gosh darn much. Adam sends an email to Mike at 570news.com. And I love it so much. I want to share it with you because I think Adam hits one of the nails on the head. I think there are multiple approaches to this problem, but Adam really gets to one here. Hey, Mike, about the thefts and crime. Adam writes to Mike at 570news.com. You're right. They don't care about consequences. It's addiction and their need. Some of them also won't live in a shelter or an apartment, possibly due to the rules they'll need to follow at those places. Also, we had solutions. We closed the institutes that helped them years ago. Now, here we are with the consequences that were predicted at the time. Now, how do you put the cat back in the bag? Thank you. Adam, it's a great question. And you are 100% right. And I have not yet done the reading that I should have done a while ago on this, but there has been an argument made for reinstitutionalization, the impacts of exactly what Adam talked about, because you're right. We deinstitutionalized. We warned then of what would happen if we did it anyway. And here we are living out what we were warned about. Now I'm sitting here today saying to you, we can follow this path to its logical conclusion, right? If businesses are spending more and more money on security, insurance premiums, etc., replacing stolen stuff, they're going to find another place to go because it just doesn't pay to do business where they're doing it. And that's really bad for everybody, isn't it? So I am not summarily opposed to the idea or to the conversation of reinstitutionalization. What does it look like if we go back to doing some of the things that we used to do? Can we go back and do them better than we once did. I'm not going to claim to be the most informed person on that subject, but Adam is absolutely right. Where we are today was predicted when we deinstitutionalized. So others have suggested, and I'm certainly open to the idea of now reinstitutionalizing. Maybe that is one part of the overall solution to the deep problems that we're dealing with in this community and elsewhere. I'll leave you on that thought and that note. You can think about it over the weekend. You can enjoy some fish at Morty's tomorrow. You can enjoy the Titans game on Saturday. And you can enjoy the Rangers game tonight right here on your home of Kitchener Rangers hockey. Josh Piercy and I have got you covered, starting with the Harris Law pregame show at 6:30. Rangers Spirit Game 4. Can Kitchener complete the sweep? We will find out tonight. I invite you to join us on the broadcast. My name is Mike Farwell. You are a force for good. Enjoy the long weekend. Bye for now.